everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to another Saturday night at the Pigsty. Tonight we are being joined by the wonderful Uncle Beck. Let me know if audio and visuals and all that there's working and everything's grand. Oh, we're going to move me down to there. And then we're going to put back, I think, there. There we go. Now we're all big in the screens and stuff. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming. I see back in the chat. I see Stool in the chat. I also see Stool behind me. Brojo, Mr. Willis, thank you very much for coming by, and everyone else that comes by. And hopefully a wee while. I'm sure there's a few other streams going, or hopefully they'll all come back. What a bit of it. But it being Thanksgiving weekend, I thought I would do something a little different. Everybody's been trying to be thankful for all the wonderful things in their life, you know. And at the end of the day, we wouldn't be who we were if we hadn't had some sort of suffering, some sort of pain. You know, none of us have had a perfect life, and everything that we go through sort of brings us to the point of where we are in our lives, in our beliefs, in everything. You know, our past makes our story. So yeah, I thought I would start with that and just try and do something different. You know, is there things in your life back that you've went through that at the time were goddamn awful, but when you come out the other end, you've learned a strength, you've learned a skill, or you know, you've learned how to deal with something better? Would there be something like that in your past?
For me?
For you? Well, there's nobody else here.
Dude, there's so much lined up there. There's so many times in my life that shit has gone wrong. But at the end of the day, it came out to be amazing. One would be my child.
Yeah.
31-year-old amazing son. That's
I guess one for me that it started out really, really shitty. And now I have this amazing, brilliant son who's kind-hearted and I don't know. He's just an amazing person. I'm really lucky that he didn't come out more fucked up. I guess.
Yeah, well, you know.
So
that was a hard thing because it was lost, or they were lost. You weren't there at the time, but now you just have a relationship and stuff. But it's better now.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
That's something nobody.
I wouldn't.
What I'm asking.
I wouldn't change any of it.
No. There we go. Everybody should be able to hear you now. Perfect. Hello, Gur.
Hello.
Gur, how's yourself?
Myself is pretty good. How's yourself?
I'm not doing too bad. I'm a little rushed tonight trying to get everything together. I was shooting aliens with red and lost track of time.
I kept checking. I kept checking your stream here, and I'm like, is he ever gonna go live? And then I see you go live, and I see no link pinned. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll just start my own channel, my own stream.
No.
Well, that was my fault. I'm having.
Come in and join the stream. Come in and join us, and I'll ask you the same question.
What was that, Beck?
Oh, I said that was my fault. I'm having some kind of computer issue.
Oh, okay, I got you.
I think my
Wild
computer's
bad delay
messing
tonight
with
was
me
back.
because the Windows update is pending, and you know what it does to your computer when you don't update it.
Yes.
I think that's what it is.
Windows pestered me for like a month straight to upgrade. I finally upgraded, and then my computer crashed right after it. Ever since then, I've been a Mac person.
Oh,
I'm all about the Mac.
No.
I've never had it crash afterwards.
Oh, that's
So,
good.
Gur, I will ask you the same question that I asked back. Is there
Mhm.
anything that would be poignant in your life that when you went through it, you would consider to be suffering or painful or bad at the time that caused you to learn something, not ended up better? I feel it back, you know, it is now good, you know, great and wonderful, but that's ended up better. Something that's
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead, Beck, if you.
no. Go right ahead.
Okay. The first thing that comes to mind going through like what felt like just complete and utter suffering to me, because I say it feels like, because I don't want to like you know, I'm not this like I know I do have privileges that others do not here, at least here in the U.S. But my first like true heartbreak
Yeah.
God, that was awful. I felt numb. I couldn't eat, couldn't
What
sleep.
age were you?
I was, let's see, I was 23, I think.
Oh, so you
23.
put it off for a while. You weren't like teenage in love, feeling angsty.
Right, right. I
You're a
wasn't
proper
that.
adult.
You know, plenty of rejections in my teenage years, but nothing where it was like where I thought this person at the time when I was religious was my soulmate. Like God brought us together, and that heartbreak, it took a long time to get over. And but looking back, I'm so happy that we did not stay together. I hate that it ended as awful as it did for me, but this is the person who is wanted like the strong desire to have kids. I have since changed my mind, and she was the religious type, so crazily religious that she wouldn't even vote for John McCain at the time
You wouldn't
because she didn't even vote for John McCain in the U.S. election because Sarah Palin was his VP, and she thought a woman should not have a place should not have authority. And I'm like, thank God, ironically, that bullet got dodged.
But what did you learn from the whole situation though?
Oh, let's see. I learned that I guess when I think back, I'm just thankful for what didn't happen versus what did I learn.
Something like that, I feel, is something that we all do go through and is necessary to go through. None of us are going to learn how to be in a relationship and be proper and love someone completely, and be a partner unless everything fucks up. Like the phrase, every relationship you've ever been in has ended except the one you're in now is true.
Right. And I feel like it's cliche to use a breakup, but I mean, well, there was one other time that had to deal with a family member, but I'd rather not talk about that. But in either case, yeah, that my first breakup was just terrible. Technically, it was my second breakup, but this one like hurt way worse. But what
First love's your first love.
Yeah, she was the second breakup, but she was my first love. And as far as what did I learn from that? I would say that I learned prior to the breakup that this happiness is just a fleeting state of mind that sometimes you're in, and most of the time you're not. So, at least
Is
for
there
me.
things that you used to do? Would there have been things or something that you used to do in the relationship that, say, toxic, you realized would be bad or toxic, or
Yes.
as your behavior changed? Now I know you're what now? You're now 50, so this is a long time.
Yeah,
ago.
53, I think, maybe 52.
So you're a different person now. But is there things that you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. There's things I could have done different for the better that I didn't do. And life is just this big, continuous learning experience. And at the end, you take a dirt nap. It's like, well, that was fun. But no, yeah. But anyways,
What would do you think that it would be? What would be the outcome if you lived a perfect life?
I don't even know what a perfect life would be. Like, what does that even mean? A perfect life?
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
really.
okay. Say you had helicopter parents. We would call them helicopter parents over here, or lawnmower parents. Do you know what I mean by that?
Rich parents, maybe?
No, they would blow.
No,
up.
helicopter parents are the ones that dictate everything you do and are constantly like attached to your ass. Those are helicopter parents.
Well, not really. No, a helicopter parent or a lawnmower parent over here. The phrase I'm using it in would be that they would mow out all the problems. They try and protect their child or whatever. Their child doesn't go through any issues or anything like that because the parents always anticipating it and trying to stay ahead of it, so to speak. They mow down all the problems, so the child goes through life thinking everything's a hell of a lot better than it is. Girl, did you kick Assembly of God one time? They're very traumatized.
I was just reading that. I think I did kick them from my stream one time. I don't remember why.
probably said bye or hello something in the wrong
if,
way. You
if
know?
if there is one thing I've learned over the past year since I've been doing this, it's people take getting kicked out of a stream very, very personally. Very
Yeah.
personally.
That's why I like doing it all the time. Why?
That makes sense. Yeah, I get that.
You know?
And don't get me wrong, I also know what it's like to be kicked unironically. Like, hey, you said something I don't like.
Like that.
No, that doesn't count because it's just a joke. But like being like legitimate, like legit, hey, we're tired of your crap or whatever you said, you're gone. And I get that, especially when you're not trying to be a dick. You know?
Yeah.
And that's my thing. Like, I was not trying to be a dick during this one. I think this was like the only time I was kicked from. I'm not gonna name the person, but yeah, I was just like, "What? How dare you kick me out of your stream?" Anyway,
And it wasn't me.
it wasn't you.
Hmm.
Just
Interesting.
when you kick me out, it's just for your own shits and giggles.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, yeah, I have learned that people do not like that. Oh no, it's. I guess it's a form of rejection, or at least that's how it feels to the individual. Not all, obviously, but
Well, there's a good example, right? I would say that they should be thankful, or at least go through the experience of that, because getting kicked from a live stream on YouTube is not really important.
It's really not. It's not. And obviously there are times where I don't know if you've had this. I'm sure you have, as being on here as much as you do, and probably Beck as well, where you're backstage and somebody's like, "Hey, I'm trying to have a private conversation. If you don't mind leaving." That no problem. Like, yep, you got it. And then as soon as I do that, I'm like, well, just be a lookout on the who's backstage, because if that link is still out there, somebody could go backstage and you won't even know it unless you're looking to see if anyone's backstage.
Oh, so you're worried about them coming in and having a private conversation that you can hear. This is offline, not online.
Right. And I just bring that up as an example. And probably most of us have been asked at one time or another, "Hey, would you mind, seeing yourself out? We're trying to have a private combo about XYZ or whatever."
But you left the link out there. That's asking them to leave. I'm talking,
Yeah, I mean, very different from just being kicked. But yeah, I've only been kicked, like, for real, like maybe 2 different streams.
Well, I've been kicked maybe once or twice, but one of them was Jill, so that doesn't really count.
Oh yeah, that doesn't count. Especially if anything, it's more validating. You get kicked out of a troll stream because you're making too much sense. It's like, well, take that as a compliment that you couldn't handle what the hell I was saying, but you have to silence me. What kills me about Jill is he'll say, "Oh, atheists, they're all about censorship. They kick me out," and then he does the same fucking thing. It's like, what's your point here?
Well, to go back again and ask you, what do you think about a perfect life? How do you think a child would develop and, turn out as an adult if they had went through that situation? No pain, no suffering, mommy and daddy sort everything.
Okay, so let me imagine this. Okay, so say there's a child born into a wealthy family, or at least a family that doesn't have any needs,
right?
Financial needs, because it's taken care of, and the child also like never gets sick.
With we keep them indoors, and who do we get? We got Z. Who's Z?
I don't know who Z is. Time to take over the world.
Z, say something so we recognize your voice, or I'll have to put you backstage.
Z
and show your face.
MathPig, you wouldn't kick me, would you?
I know it was you. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I just need to check my settings. They're absolutely right for my audio. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, good. A perfect life. What the bloody hell's a perfect life? One of the first things that I remember my dad saying to me, and he just kept on saying it to me all the way through my childhood, till I was an adult, was life isn't fair. It was usually accompanied by a clip round the ear, but it wasn't a nasty clip round the ear. It was a a constant reminder that there's always somebody else out there that's trying to beat you. Life is competitive, and you cannot be walked over, because if you're walked over, you will get nothing. So there's a level that you have to walk where you have to be assertive at times, and at other times you can sit back and allow others to be assertive. And respect is a really important thing, but if someone's not respecting you, then you can go all in that you like. And that was basically the message that I learned from my father. And as far as I'm concerned, that works. There's no such thing as a perfect life, though.
No, I wouldn't necessarily say there's a perfect life out there. As we were talking to Gary, you know, that situation said money's not a problem. You know, kids would have, excuse me, an instance where they grow up and like, they don't have any issues, they don't have any problems, you know, they don't get bullied at school, everything's going well for them. I'm trying to ask her, what would you say, how would you think that person's going to develop?
Well, they're not going to develop.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. If there's no strife, if there's no pain, there's literally no gain. At least that's how I would imagine it. If they don't know what it's like to hurt, then how are they going to know when they're hurting somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
Or when something's good. If
Yeah,
everything's good, if everything's good all the time, wow, that's a bland life, isn't it?
But they know no different. It's only bland looking out or looking in from the outside.
How do they gain perspective on whether something is good to do or not? How do they feel good about something if nothing could ever go wrong for them? If they're always sheltered from anything going wrong, if they're able to blame anything and everything on other people, like our government does, blaming everything and anything on Putin or whoever it is that they choose that they want to blame, so that they can shift the blame from themselves or for their own decisions. And it's like, well, yeah, if you take somebody's agency away, what have they got?
Well, a warped sense of reality.
Is Beck still gone? Because they haven't said anything in a minute.
I was messing with internet stuff. I can hear you guys finally. So yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool.
Going
cool.
back-
I was just double checking.
What's your
Sorry,
thoughts
yes.
on this, Beck?
What?
Math was asking. I'm sorry. Go ahead, MathPig.
I was just asking, how do you think a child would develop, or what the outcome would be? You know, whenever they're leaving such a sheltered life.
Well, first they're going to be lost and not know what to do. They're going to be totally like not open to what's going on in the entire world because their parents shelter them too much. They're not going to understand diversity. They're not going to understand critical thinking. They're not going to, none of that will happen.
None of what will happen? Sorry, I just hopped in. There was an open StreamYard link. I've been day drinking.
If you get out of control, I'll just kick you. So that's fine.
I-
We've already decided that that's something people need to learn.
Can I call you Wild Heart from now on, whoever you are?
Oh snap!
That's
I mean-
Mr. Tapioca Weasel.
Wait, has anybody met them before?
I have seen them about.
Yeah, I haven't been on your channel. I haven't been on MathPig's channel in a few months, I think. But yeah, I'm
Okay, so you've
like,
been here before.
I'm like a dude that's like around atheist YouTube, for example.
Mm. So, have you accepted Charles Darwin into your heart to be your Lord and Savior?
Isn't he dead?
Yeah.
Bit like Jesus, then, eh?
But
So what's your thoughts on the
is
main
that-
question then? Do you have a shorter name? Because I'm not going to be arsed to say Tapioca Weasel every time.
How about just Tabby?
yeah, you can call me Tapioca. You can call me Weasel. I don't give a shit.
Weasel.
Weasel.
Checking the Weasel.
Yeah, we'll go with Weasel. Yeah, we'll go with Weasel. Thoughts on, is there anything that you're thankful for that you suffered through in your life that taught
See you
you a
back.
lesson, taught you to do better, or made you a better person?
I mean, things that I've worked for that have along the way included suffering. So, my education, things like that. I have a PhD, and that took a lot of work, and I had a mental health crisis. And for me personally, even though it took 8 years and it was a pain in the ass, it was worth it for me personally.
Good
I
for
don't
you.
think I've actually answered that question of yours, MathPig.
You were ranting about something else, so I didn't get a
I
chance.
was.
I wanted you to finish what you were saying, and then Mr. Weasel come in and just stole the spotlight.
The Weasel.
No, that's good. That's good. That's all right, because I heard what the question is, and I think it's a really interesting question. And so, yeah, I really appreciate bullies.
Well, I don't know if I can say that, but yeah.
And the reasoning behind that was people attempted to bully me, and I wouldn't let them. And I was involved in quite a lot of stuff, but there was one particular time where somebody made a racial slur against me one evening, and he was well aware that I wasn't very happy about it, and he was very worried for quite a while, and then he set his mate on me, who I didn't know, and it turned out that he was he went boxing regularly, and he beat the living shit out of me. And my face was black and blue. I had a broken nose, I had black eyes, I had blood everywhere. But I learned a major lesson there. I was only fourth year at school, so I was 15. The major lesson to learn there is I'm not fucking invincible.
Yeah.
And I have to know when I run or turn away or go, yeah, I'm out of here, versus when I stand up to somebody. And that is a major lesson that I learned in my life. And I really appreciate that, because prior to that, I'd never had any problems. I stood up to bullies, and I stood up to them on behalf of either myself or other people that were being bullied. And it wasn't difficult. But once I'd got the shit kicked out of me, I realized, yeah, this is about a rational decision.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I can't just stand up to this guy and just make my statement or try and push him away or whatever. You can't just do that, because you could get your ass kicked.
But you have to think about it with every guy. You know, yeah. The concept of I win all my fights by 100 yards is an interesting one. When it's not all your fights, and you have to pick and choose which ones you bloody get away from, because you're not going to win. And that's something that has stuck with me the whole of my life. It's about making rational decisions.
Well, that's the thing, you know. Once you go through, regardless of what the suffering is, I'd say there's always, choice is a hard word, you know, there's always a way to look upon things. You know, you can choose to react to something in a certain way, right? And it can be very difficult to choose to, say, not react to it. But if bad things come in your life, the more you go through them, as with everything, the more you experience it, the easier it is to deal with. The more experience you get and learn how to deal with it better.
Yeah, you have to think of new ways of dealing with things. Carry on, Weasel.
Yeah, I was going to say to a point. The argument, you know, that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It has a fair amount going for it, but sometimes shit kills you.
Mhm.
You know,
You'll not do that
and
again, so you
sometimes,
can't talk
and
about it.
sometimes, huh?
He said if it kills you, you'll definitely not do it again. You can't do much to talk about it.
Exactly, and like, you know, just because something might strengthen you the first 5 times you go through it doesn't mean it'll strengthen you if you have to go through it every day.
I would agree with
Bullying, I think, is a fantastic example of this.
Mhm.
Bullying, I think facing shitty people when you're growing up and bullies, I think that's a somewhat necessary or at least inevitable part of life.
that. Kids are
But when
cruel.
it's constant, when it's every day, yeah, kids can be cruel to a profound degree that they don't realize when they're kids.
Yeah.
And sometimes getting beaten up over and over again doesn't make you stronger, it just leaves you broken.
And that was one of the lucky things about me. I mean, I've always been able to stand up for myself. But the message that I was giving was, there was that time that came around where I got absolutely hammered. And I mean hammered. And I learned something from that. Whereas prior to that, I was able to stand up to anyone and everyone. And that was a dangerous position to be in.
Yeah.
And I had to be hammered to be able
Right.
to think critically.
Well, here's a question for you, right? I think your example is very, very good with kids being absolute cunts and bullying in school. It is something that we all go through to a point that character building, so to speak, would be necessary. Obviously, we're not going to take it to the extreme like Weasel was talking about and getting beaten every day. But what would you consider to be suffering that is necessary? I made the point with Gur going through a first love and coming out the other side. I think that's something that would be necessary to a balanced human being. Maybe not necessarily getting the shit knocked out of you, but having kids point at you and go, "Ah, you've got a funny nose, you have big ears," or something like that, and learning to deal with that and move on. A necessary evil, so to speak. Would you? What list would you come up with, Heretic? I would be interested to see or hear even.
Risk taking, making mistakes,
Yes.
being ridiculed for having made a bad decision because you didn't think it through properly.
Mm-hmm.
Those things hurt at first until you can sit back and actually see where you went wrong. But sometimes you've got no experience to understand that it's the wrong thing.
Yes.
And that gives you the experience. And that brings wisdom. It brings understanding. It starts to announce an ability to have empathy with other people and other positions and the other reactions of other people. We all make these mistakes, and we have to make these mistakes because being broken at first makes you a better person, as long as Weasel says, it's not all day, every day by somebody that's purposefully just trying to break you and you've actually done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
That would be character destroying. So you would say that the thing that you want to add to the list, so to speak, would be take risks and, so to a point, be a little ridiculed for the fact you fucked up.
Well, I mean, taking risks is all about life. And that's where your father comes in. When you're learning to take risks, your father has to be able to advise you whether that risk in the first place is too dangerous or what you have to take into account before you take the next step. It's a bit like climbing a tree.
Oh, yeah.
I can climb a tree to the top.
Falling from a branch 5 feet up when you're 6 years old is not going to kill you unless you're extremely unlucky. If you get all the way 20 feet up and then you have your first fall.
Yep.
Yeah. Now maybe Gary would be the opposite at the minute. I would agree with you. Like a fatherly figure in the family, would be there Like I put my wee girl up in the attic and had her swing down for pictures and send them to her mother and get shouted at. You know, it's like this is the things that you do. You teach them to get over their fears. You teach them to take
Yes.
risks.
Yes. But
The
you
exam-
teach them in a way that they think about it first.
Mm-hmm.
It's a personal responsibility thing. It is every single breath you take, every single action you do, every single statement you make, you need to think about it first. And we all still make the mistake of not doing it. But that doesn't mean you failed. It just means you're human.
Yeah.
But as long as you're doing it most of the time and you're making a rational decision as to why you're doing that action, and it could be bang, as quick as that. If it's just an emotional decision, you could really have a problem. If it's every time, you're just going to come up against a brick wall every
Like
time.
my wee girl was afraid of heights, so there's not too far from here the biggest viaduct in all of Ireland. It's like 250 foot tall, and I used to walk up the side of it and go drinking when we were younger. So we went off the beaten path and took her up to the. Oh, she got so close to the top, but she slipped. She stopped. That was it. But she got up there. You know, we didn't fall or anything. Just slipped a wee bit and scared her. But she learned to go that height. You know, next time she'll go higher. Next time you go higher. It's a learning process, and it teaches you to. Fear is necessary as a limiter. Fear lets you know where your limits are. You know, and you.
But the slip is important. The slip is important, MathPig. That's really important.
Yeah.
Because that teaches you your hand needs to have a hold of something. That's every single step if you're going up something. And that
There
links
was
to
virtually
that.
nothing for her to hold on to. It was like
No,
this.
I know what you mean. But I mean, it's like the tree. It's like the tree.
Yeah.
You can never climb a tree upwards and put your foot onto the next branch unless both your hands have absolute complete hold above you. Because if your foot slips, you the only thing you've got is your hands to help you.
There was an
And they
incident
have to be around something.
when we were on holiday, and there was a cave. It's called Pigeonhole Cave. It's like 200 foot, whatever, down into the ground. People abseil down into it, but you can walk down into it. Now it is quite dangerous. You know, it's not really looked after. The Irish government have fenced it off and put a sign saying "Don't come down here." And then someone has went down with bolt cutters, and they've cut a hole in the fence, and everybody just walks through, and then they just. Oh man, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I'm wanting to go down into it. It's something that we've walked in the forest to find this thing, and she looks down into the hole, and she's like, "Not a fucking chance!" Like, she starts to get very upset, and I have a picture of her, as I am sort of, I can coerce her to come down. You know, we'll get you a nice dinner and ice cream or whatever, and you can tell when she's about here, she is absolutely petrified. Like, she is very, very scared. You can tell that in the picture, right? But when we get to the bottom and she realizes that she's been through it, she is happy as Larry. She takes a few pictures and stuff like that. And then she decides, right, I'm done now, Daddy. We've done your thing. You promised me ice cream. And she takes off like a rocket up these stone steps that are quite slipping up. Gone. Doesn't care that I'm not helping her on the way up, because she now has overcome that fear. You know, it's an improvement.
And she has a purpose.
Yeah. She's also good at taking
Ice
pictures.
cream. Ice cream.
Yeah.
A purpose. She has something to aim for. Bang. That's it.
It's actually so funny because whenever we went, Rachel's as well. Whenever we went for the ice cream and the nice meal afterwards, she's not a big vegetable eater at the minute. She's in that stage, and she ordered curry with just chicken in it and rice, and they put a sprinkling of like parsley over the top of it, and she's just sitting looking at it like this, going, "Fucking vegetables on it. I didn't want no. Where's my ice cream?" Funny. It's just funny. Everybody, thank you all for coming and joining and becoming Pork Scratchings. Little Green, and you get badges and all, and yeah. Thank you.
I think it will have been coriander, not parsley, though.
No, it was fucking God knows what. I didn't eat the thing. I couldn't tell you what it was. She was not happy. It ended up on the fucking floor in the ashtray. That's where it went. But yeah, I would be one like that I would push the limits of my daughter. Before we went swimming, I taught her to jump off the coffee table and Daddy would catch her. So that we went to the swimming pool, she would jump off the edge into the swimming pool and she would be fine with that, which she didn't do. So then she came out into the middle of the swimming pool and I threw her up like that and took 2 steps back and let her just go splash into the water. Her mother wasn't happy. She called me bad daddy for about 2 hours, but she loves going to the pool now. And she'll go underneath the waterfall part of the thing and everything, and she has no fear for it, you know? So I don't regret getting called bad daddy or anything like that, you know? She now enjoys going to the swimming pool. She has no fear, you know?
That's all part of being a father. That is what you have to do to teach your kids how to become adults and how to think.
How many kids do you have?
Just the one. She will be 6 in February.
I would have so much anxiety.
She got star of the week this week in her class, and she got to take the mascot home. She's got Mr. Burmy home with his suitcase and pajamas and shit and all. She's very chuffed with herself.
Grr, why would you have anxiety if you were a kid right now?
No, if I had a kid, the reason why I don't want to have any kids is because I am 99% positive that I would be anxious all the time, wondering if they're going to be abducted, if they're just going to have a heart attack or crazy ass accident happens, who are they hanging with? All that stuff would, I'm pretty sure, would eat me up.
You get past that. You know, the whole idea of raising your child, like I make a joke because I got my gun license after my daughter was born, and I make a joke it's for all the boyfriends and the rest of it and all. But my father was giving the guns up, and they were going to be.
Oh, I thought it was because you hated crying babies.
No. But my dad was getting rid of the guns, and me and him went hunting them. Like I wanted them more for a sentimental value, you know. So that's why I got them. But I know growing up that I won't have any worries with my daughter because she will be educated in this, that, and the other. She stands up for herself. She's no fear in speaking her mind. She tells her mother to shut up if she interrupts her when me and her are talking. Excuse me, mommy, we're talking. You know, she is no. And once you get to see your child, like if you have a wee kid that constantly falls downstairs and walks into doors, first see a doctor, right? Second, I would worry, but you'll see from your kid when they get to that point. You know, you have to give them confidence and let them go out on their own. Parents always worry, but you need to let your kids go out on their own and make mistakes.
Yep, they have to fly, and they have to fly by themselves, and that's what you have to teach them, to be themselves.
I think one of the things that I and a lot of people sort of struggled with in the sort of process of growing up, and this is not a knock on my parents. My parents did a fantastic job. It's just, you know, life gives everybody a different hand. It can be hard for somebody who's growing up to understand when things are going badly because they did something wrong and they can learn from it and move forward, as opposed to when something outside their control went wrong. And if they internalize blame for things that they can't control, it can lead to really bad, like, self-image issues or things like that. Like, I've struggled with depression more or less my whole life, and it's not because of anything my parents did, but it can be really hard when you think everything is your fault. You can't learn from things that aren't your fault.
But you can learn about the world, as long as you accept these are things outside my control. But what can I control in order to not be in the position where those things actually apply to me? And it all comes down to that sort of really thinking about things. And you might get pissed off about it while you're thinking about it, and it might take you a while to get through it to understand. But it wasn't me. It wasn't me. And then you've always got some wanker telling you it was your fault.
And sometimes that wanker is you.
Yes. Yeah. Straight from the mirror. Yes, exactly. But experience and time overcomes that. Or should
It
do.
doesn't. It doesn't always.
Okay.
Sometimes it requires some. Those things certainly help. I like to say, I have a saying that I say a lot. Wow, I just used the word "say" too many times in that sentence.
You don't say.
So my saying is this: time, effort, counseling, I'll get over it. And the thing is, it takes time, it takes effort. Sometimes it takes somebody else, a counselor, helping you and being like, listen, let's bring in the facts. Do you actually, you go through every, so I'm going to use an example for my own life. So I had a pretty hardcore mental breakdown at the end of 2019 when I was still in my graduate school program, and I had hardcore imposter syndrome. I would always compare myself to everybody around me. And I was being... I understood academically, sort of, at like kind of this high intellectual level, I guess, or whatever, that I was doing well in life. I was doing good work in the lab. I was doing things right. People liked me, respected me. I wasn't letting everybody down. But I felt like I was letting everybody down. I felt like I was screwing up constantly. And having a therapist come in and be like, let's look at the facts. Has your advisor said that he's disappointed in you? No, he hasn't. And if he had, it would have been about a specific thing that you can address and work on. But this amorphous, just self-loathing that I lived with, it was profound. And I remember my therapist in December of 2019. Well, I don't remember this because she didn't tell me about this until a year later, but she was concerned enough that her priority right then was keeping me out of the hospital. It was keeping me from having to undergo sort of an inpatient psychiatric evaluation. And I just needed somebody to tell me to my face, stop and let's think about this. Is that true, what you think about yourself? Are you a huge disappointment? If you asked people in your life and they had to be honest, what would they say? And I knew that the answer was no. You're doing great, Weasel. You're doing fantastic. You're doing great. Nothing's a problem. But I felt like everybody was looking at me and just, it was rough. I needed more than just the experience of living through that and the time of living through that. I needed somebody to make me look at 1 + 1 and set it equal to 2, rather than just jumping to the answer of 3. That's what I was doing.
I get that.
Like, I can personally, man, I didn't even stream last weekend. I was going through, I depression and self-hatred. I suffer from an awful lot of that. You know, I don't like to maybe to a point even talk sometimes, because I have a wee bit autistic and things like that, and then you shut down when the communication isn't there. You cause fights and problems. People get annoyed around you because they're not understanding. You end up hating yourself for it, you know. And as someone who's been through that and still suffers through that, like, you know, it's very debilitating, because you get to the point where everybody's just saying this shit because it's expected. It's not true. It's not real, you know.
Everybody's asking you how you doing, and you say, fine, great.
Logan has used the term that I was about to bring up, and it's called imposter syndrome. And I don't know whether that's what you were actually describing, but it sounded a bit like it. I mean, there's a lot of
Yes.
people at work that talk about imposter syndrome. And I understand it. And it's that bit of really questioning whether you are competent. Not about your ambitions and not about your other bits, but actually, and not about your leadership in any way or necessarily, or the way that you treat other people, but about how good you are at doing what it is you're actually meant to do. And to be truthful, I look at a lot of people who say they've got imposter syndrome, and I think, yeah, well, I'm not surprised, because you're not very competent and you haven't been professional enough to actually develop the skills to do the job.
Yeah.
However, you're a really nice person and you lead people really well and you treat people really well. And that's why you got promoted to the bloody place you are, but you're still incompetent. I'm not saying that about you at all, Weasel. That's just my personal dig at some of the people I work with. But yeah,
See, so a wee
I
boost like
understand
that's
it.
good for confidence, man. Like, I'm trying to be a wee bit better now. You know, I'm talking about the things and getting out there. Being more aware of these symptoms in yourself helps you overcome that. Letting people know
Yeah.
around you, you know. And I recently moved departments from where I'm working, and I set up a whole new filing system, a whole new whatever to track all the stuff going in and out of the store. And after fucking 6 months, I went to the boss and I was like, "Look at this. We shaved a day off the stock take. I want a pay raise." 2-minute conversation. He gave me £1 extra an hour, and something like that is a wee bit. Man, maybe I'm not an asshole. You know. So
No, you still are.
I mean, if you're making like 200 an hour, then like, good job on the 0.5%. But I don't. Well, actually, that is a lot. Wow. Now that I think about it, man, if I could just get a 0.5% every day, can you imagine?
That would be awesome.
Assembly of
I'm
God,
like-
I give you a wrench to take it away. You were not going to take it. You come and you pushed the boat by shouting blah 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 blah. So
MathPig, give us
you're never
and
gonna
take
get one, girl. You can fuck
away.
yourself. No, you're never getting one till I get one on your channel. I give you one before you abuse.
What are you talking to me? What are you talking about?
You made it all about yourself. You big self-centered.
Wait, you're talking to Assembly of God. How did I get brought into this?
Because I thought you were asking for a wrench. That
No.
was the conversation you were having
No.
with Assembly of God, and you'll never get one. So don't worry.
I wasn't asking for. I don't want a wrench.
It's all right.
Like, I don't care if I have a wrench or not. It doesn't matter to me. Man, what was I gonna say?
I mean-
one thing that like I don't think I deal with depression, but I definitely, my mind is always in the gutter. Like it's like, maybe not always, but I'd say 80% of the time I'm just like, I feel like I could definitely be in a better mental state, but I don't think that I have.
Well, hold on. What do you mean by in the gutter?
Like, I'm just always like hard. Well, I'll put it to you this way: hard on myself all the time. Just like,
Yeah.
well, I could've
Are
done
you
that
tired a
better.
lot?
Not tired a lot, thankfully.
Okay.
Although there's been well, I mean, everyone gets tired from time to time, but no, I'm not tired all the time or anything. But one thing that annoys me more than anything in my personal life is feeling stuck in a rut. And my God, like I wake up, go to work, do my things, go home, do more things, go to bed, wake up, repeat. And it's like, oh my God, is this all there is? Is there anything else I could do? Like it, and then you try to do something different and it bites you in the ass. And so you go back to being stuck in a rut. And yeah.
So feel free to answer this with whatever level of specificity you desire.
Yeah.
Or not at all. What do you do generally, like for it day to day as your job, career, hobbies, passions, whatever?
I don't want to be too specific just because I'm a paranoid person on only on YouTube.
You're a dude on the internet.
I heard
I'm-
a story. I heard a story. You manage your mom's porn career. Is that true?
First of all, it was my grandmom.
Oh, was it grandma? Okay, right.
Second of all, I only recorded it. I did not distribute it. Like I left that to the company.
Just making sure. You know?
But no,
Is your name Hunter? Is your name Hunter? Is it? Sorry. I was
that
just
might be a good reference to somebody. I'm sorry, I just don't know who that is.
I'm only.
the son of your president.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, Hunter Biden. But no, yeah, I mostly work background. Like I work in the background of my job, but I'm also like managing, and also I do like 50% behind the scenes stuff, and I'd say 50% working with like clients and customers and the public. And then on my lunch break, I'll watch a show or something because I get about an hour, sometimes a little over an hour on my lunch break. That's when I have my coffee, watch a show, or get online and watch YouTube videos. And then I go back to work. Then I finally get to come home. And again, it's the same thing. I'll either get online or I'll watch a show, eat my dinner, and then go to bed. And it what's so weird, and I am actually, I haven't said this to anyone online, but I am actually planning to go get evaluated because I am pretty sure I have ADHD. When I looked at, I always thought ADHD was just, oh, you have a problem concentrating. And I thought that was it because I never looked into it. That was just the stereotype. But once I learned of all the signs and symptoms, I'm like, holy shit. So I told Mrs. Mania, this was just a week, maybe less than a week ago. I told Mrs. Mania, I said, hey, babe, for real, like, I'm not kidding. I think I have ADHD. And she said, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, I mean, shit.
You should probably have said something about it because guess
that's what I
what?
was thinking.
I'll send you a link to a channel for adults with ADHD that I would watch the odd time, man. There's another one for Asperger's is quite good as well. Asperger's from the inside is very, very good.
The symptoms with ADHD, I just thought I was I just thought I was a piece of shit.
Or lazy.
Yeah, I thought I was both.
One of those
and
two.
Lazy.
Yup.
And and holy hell, I had no idea just how much shit in my life has been as such because I have stuff that has not been treated or, under the guidance of a professional. I'm like,
yeah.
I do not like to sit still. I wouldn't go so far as saying that I would have pretty sure of that, but not any. I just don't like to sit still,
Yeah, and if somebody's talking to me, I will phase out of that conversation quicker than you could say hello. I'm like, what? Thankfully, here on YouTube, I don't do that for some reason. I guess because it actually requires my focus. But even at work, if somebody's telling me something, I'm just like, okay, whatever. And I don't mean any mean intent by it. I just can't help it. Especially my brother. I have a few brothers, and ironically, the smartest brother, this dude, my smartest brother, he's intelligent. He'll talk to me about something like deep and philosophical or something to do with psychology. And as interesting as it is, I just phase out like 8 out of 10 times.
Are there topics or conversations where you like hyper focus?
Yeah, there are those. Yeah.
Mr.
That's
As you say that, I got hyper focused on making a cardboard PC case and watched all these people on the internet making these PC cases out of cardboard, right? And I don't know if this. Let me see if I can switch this off so it'll even fucking work. You should see the case that I have made.
Especially if I have a project going on that requires my focus. Oh man, I'm like dead set on it.
It's not even gonna come through.
I can't.
Yeah.
No, I'm not working.
Yeah, I can't see it. You got to turn off your thing, which you probably don't want to do.
Oh no, that's fine. I don't give a shit.
But yeah, that's the thing about ADHD is it comes with two things. One, I think it comes with some sort of atypical kind of connections in terms of how you actually make your cognitive thing has a couple of wires crossed in ways that can be helpful. And the other thing is you get this hyper focus. When you're in the zone, you can fucking your productivity is like a factor of 5 times what other people's is.
Right.
It's just
right.
that other people are able to maintain that productivity 10 times more than you are, so they win by a factor of 2.
That's a great way to put it.
Grr.
Yes.
Maybe all these other people you're speaking to are really boring bastards. You know, I mean, there is something about that. I mean, this all links into a question that I've sort of been wanting to ask you guys, and it's like, do you ever just accept who you are?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, just go, fuck it. I mean, this is me. This is how I am. I have thought about myself. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm really fucking bad at. And I know what pisses me off. And this is me. Diversity, inclusivity, you accept me for who I am. And I will work on the things that I realize I can actually be better at because they're worth working at. And other things, it's just my fucking personality. You either accept it or get off the fucking shitter, you know?
Hello, I'd appreciate you put your icon up. It's a lot of moving, bright color. Just put your icon up.
Who is that?
That's Flow State.
Okay. Oh, okay. I recognize that.
I get what you're talking about with the hyper, focusing and stuff like that, Mr. Weasel. My job now is running the kits for a factory. Well, 2 factories actually. For all the build kits for boys welding stuff together, we make farm machinery and stuff, right? From scratch. Steel comes in, works its way up, and when it leaves, it's painted and got all the bits on it. And I have to run all the kits then for these departments and shit like that. I am literally a week and a half ahead of where I need to be. I have done so much fucking cleaning and reorganizing at work that I have not a goddamn thing to fucking do at work. I sat out the back the other day and smoked 2 fags and watched an episode of fucking Deep Space Nine, and nobody knew that I was out the back in the electric box because everything's done.
Yes. You got your work done.
I took a day off work because I actually painted that fucking case in my kitchen with windows closed and had a bottle of wine. Well ventilated area, people. When you paint, you'll be sick. It's not good. And yeah, I didn't need to be at work. Nothing was done. It was everything was done.
Yeah. Another thing is, I only work good under pressure. When there's a deadline and it's only a day, I only have like if somebody says, "Hey,
ADHD is ADHD. You work way better under pressure.
Yeah. Like again, this is just me speculating that I have not been diagnosed with it, but I do plan to get checked. But yeah, like if somebody says, "Hey, Gur, can you get this task done, this project done for me?" I'm like, "Sure," and I will put it off until finally you say, "Hey, you have a week to before it needs to be turned in." Once I have a deadline, especially the closer it gets to that deadline, because I will procrastinate and push it off until I literally have no choice but to focus on it. Yeah, and again, all these things, I just thought I was just, a terrible human being. Which I still am.
Yeah.
You can still be that.
Yeah,
You're just the project manager's nightmare.
Yeah, exactly.
They wanted that shit a few weeks ago so that everything else would roll together and they wouldn't be working up to deadlines. And it's like, yeah, well.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I think my advisor realized that eventually, because he was like, "Hey, like you take all the time you need to like figure stuff." Because I just had to like suddenly out of nowhere take 6 weeks off of work because I had just like I had reached a burnout point and I was just like, I cannot move anymore. I cannot do this anymore. I'll be right back. But one of the things he implemented, like moving forward a few months later, was instead of meeting with me once a week, as was always like typical with all the other graduate students, we began to meet twice a week.
Pen, come on in.
And meeting multiple times a week, it was just like it was like he knew that like the supervision would be helpful, and it was just generally very helpful. And he wasn't a dick about it, because that's the thing. He could have been even if you had been like slightly awkward about it, it could have had like a really screwed up effect on my self-image at that time. I was really fragile in 2020. It was a problem. I was extremely fragile, and it was multiple hours of therapy a week and a fantastic psychiatrist that helped out.
Doesn't it seem like the disorder would be in our modern lifestyle more than in, if everybody's got the same issues going on with the 9 to 5 and the school routines and all that shit?
It wasn't the 9 to 5. The routines are helpful for me. That's my point. Is
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with being in a rut and being bored day to day with my routine. That is not my problem. My problem is I need some direction, or I'm spinning my wheels, and somebody needs to tell me to stop and like do a math equation and tell them what time it is, and that like does a reset for me, and then I'm like, okay, I can do this.
Because I have
It's-
been diagnosed with ADHD, and I think
it's.
I just showed Nate Crafty.
Go on.
Oh, I was going to say, I have been diagnosed with ADHD twice, and I think it's bullshit, honestly. Like, I think it's a made-up disease to help acclimate us to a
Are you a
lifestyle that's very
libertarian?
unnatural.
Are you a libertarian?
I don't self-apply the title, but basically,
Oh yeah, you are. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I consider myself an anarchist, but that's
Oh,
neither here nor
okay.
there.
Well, okay, that's fine. ADHD is better described, in my opinion, as executive function disorder. That's a better label for the sort of suite of cognitive abilities, not cognitive abilities, executive function abilities, but that's circular. The ability to sort of organize and focus on things. There are tests that you can do, and most people do certain ways on these tests, and most people and some people do dramatically different. And it's not like knowledge tests, okay? It's like, how often do you press a button under a weird situation, which is sort of a stand-in for general stimuli. I don't think it's fake. It's literally one of the most studied psychological phenomenon ever.
And I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm just expressing my point of view.
Fair enough.
I mean, so when I got diagnosed the first time, I filled out, it was like a 10-page questionnaire, and I submitted it, and then I met with the dude the first time, and I walk in, and he goes, Taylor, everybody comes to college and thinks they have ADHD, and most of them don't, but you absolutely do. Let's put you on the highest dose right now. Now, for a chemical imbalance with a chemical remedy, he sure didn't do any chemical tests.
Fair. There aren't any chemical tests that are known. For
Would
the
that
record,
not be
there
a bad
aren't, but like,
representation of a doctor or a technician?
That would be a broad representation of psychiatric healthcare in general.
I'm just
well,
saying
the
that
problem
guy,
is there aren't any tests that are known. If we
Oh.
knew some and he didn't do them, then fair enough.
So-
but we don't know of any.
But then how would we come to the conclusion that we know what the imbalance is and we know how to solve it?
Honestly, it's been trial and error. It's been certain drugs work really well. They don't.
Sure.
Most of these things have not been predictively anticipated beforehand. It's literally, for some reason, this works. The same thing is true for why serotonin, I think, inhibitors.
Well, it's
This is
amphetamines.
not my
That's the
field,
treat.
for the record.
Yeah. No, it's amphetamines. The treatment for ADHD is amphetamines. If you're on enough speed, you can sit in a cubicle and line up pencils and stack pennies for hours. I don't know. Just something to think about. It suggests to me that the issue is that we're living unnatural, boring lifestyles where we have to have executive functions on shit that we don't care about at all.
I care about the shit that I need it for, though. I care about it. I'm a physicist, okay? I'm a postdoctoral physicist. I go in and I design and run experiments to try and measure gravitational waves using ultra-cold atoms. It's super cool. It's not boring, rote,
As
9 to
fuck.
5.
That is awesome.
9 to
I
5
spent
nonsense.
a year in Queens trying to be an astrophysicist.
Shut up, MathPig, shut up.
Asperger's bad teachers. Yeah.
It's not. It's not about having to add the. I think fundamentally it's not just about the boring stuff and trying to medicate away the fact that people get bored doing boring stuff. That's not my problem. It's not my problem that I get bored doing boring stuff. If you don't get bored doing boring stuff, that's either a problem or a sign of incredible mental equanimity with the world, which is also actually pretty
Zen.
good. So.
Total zen.
You could say it's a
problem.
flow state.
Yeah. Sometimes I want to get into a flow state, but I can't.
Yeah.
Because
The thing is, Weasel, if your bosses are giving you boring stuff all the time, you've got a problem with your bosses.
That's absolutely
Well, he's
true.
not
I
disputing
couldn't
that.
agree with.
That's-
I could
he's
not
not
agree
disputing
more.
that.
I do not have that problem. It's yes.
And that goes back. I mean, you remove the current status of the world, and you go back to Adam Smith and the Industrial Revolution, where we started stuffing people into factories where they spent their whole life just doing one thing over and over and over and over and over again. So I don't put it as this is a current status, the way of the current world that causes this stuff. I think that's an excuse that people are coming up with, because lives have been boring. And
I'm referring to the modern world, so it would include everything after the Industrial Revolution.
Okay, and then they're interspersed with things that are very, very unboring. And I don't classify going to watch your football match as being unboring. I classify that as just a bit of fun. But
You classify getting into an accident, a car accident, or something like that, right?
or you're in a war because your government has put you in a war. You know, it's like
Dying for the rich.
you're put into an exceptionally high stressful situation, and it's like, okay, so all these things. But yeah, I mean, if the Pope in the corner, because I don't know what your name is, I'm sorry, I can only see a Pope's cap on your head.
Taylor.
What appears to be. Taylor. Hi, Taylor. Bottom line is, we have a certain life, and I don't understand why suddenly in America we've got 40% of Gen Z generation with anxiety problems. I don't get it. I don't understand.
I have those too.
Social media.
I don't understand it.
The thing is, people have always been anxious. It's just that they weren't able to diagnose it. Guess what? Glasses weren't invented until they were invented. I don't know when.
Well,
glasses
anxiety
like
in and of
right?
itself is
I got
not.
nice new glasses. I've
not a
had 3
shortage.
pairs now. I'm very chuffed, you know.
But here's the thing. Do you think so? If glasses were invented 1,000 years ago, which they were invented at different times, I think in different parts of the world.
2 or 3 different times, right? Yeah.
But exactly. But if they were invented 1,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago, we all know that people have been having vision problems since before that. I would assume. If you disagree, then I can
Vision
imagine
problems
the
are a
outlines of an
conspiracy
argument for that, but you'd be wrong.
I get what you're
I've
saying.
seen them cave paintings with the cavemen and their iPads just too close.
I think a different analogy, similar thread would be if you give somebody binoculars, right? And you say, here, wear these binoculars on your face. Now you can see that shit a mile away. You have a disorder because you couldn't see the shit a mile away. No, the problem is that you're trying to focus on something a mile away, not that you can't do it. That's how I would relate to that.
That's helpful. Yeah.
There is another way of looking at it as well. And that's around evolution. I mean, a few thousand years ago,
Evolution is a lie. I just want to
if
say
we
that.
if we were being hunted, if we were being hunted or whatever, or we were subject to being hunted, then not having good eyesight is a problem, and you would end up dead quickly.
But even though that's true, nobody's I mean, humans aren't designed to be able to focus on something a mile away. That's just.
I'm not talking about a mile away. I'm talking about something that's coming up that you need 20 meters away, type of thing.
Yeah.
Right in front of your face.
So
I haven't upgraded my glasses in fucking 6 years, and that small extra foot of difference is making a big difference.
I agree 100%. And I've booked in for an optician's test on Tuesday, and I just did that today.
I can see it.
Now,
Oh,
the
there's
thing
that dirty
is,
liberal there's that dirty liberal fucking knock in the chat.
the thing is, where does the bit come in the change in relation to Darwin and evolutionism? Because evolution would suggest that if people got killed because their eyesight was bad, then everybody would have 20/20 vision now. But if we have produced glasses that can overcome that, then are we preventing people from dying and therefore producing many more people with eyesight problems? And it's just one of those chicken and egg sort of questions that I always have around this sort of stuff. What are we overcoming with all of our advancements that means that actually humans are not as strong possibly than they previously used to be, because the weaker ones would die out and their genetics wouldn't flow
So
through
what are you
to
talking?
the
Are you talking
breed.
physical strength, mental strength? What I can't.
Yeah,
No,
you're
whichever
appealing to an
strength.
absolute standard. You're appealing
No.
to some sort of hypothetical
Yeah.
absolute standard of strength, which doesn't exist because humans have the ability to modify our strength with technology. It's
But
always
yes.
context dependent. Fitness is
And that's the point.
always context dependent.
And
Yeah.
that's the point, because evolution, the word strength is about merely what is able to exist within the environment and what exists best within the environment that there is. And of course, if we manipulate the environment because of technology, then we are allowing other things to come through, which maybe in the past would not have lived as long as they do. Now, I'm not giving a value against it, a moral value as to what's good or what's bad. I'm just saying, I don't know what the impact, I don't know what that means. I
Yeah,
don't know whether it means we've got a lot of asthmatic people nowadays, like we used to get in the 70s and 80s and the 60s. And are we developing more people with eyesight problems? And are we having children later in life? Much later in
Probably.
life, that previously we would never have been able to do, and what impact does that have? So there's no value added statement. It's just what does it mean? Is my question.
It's a good one. Because I think you make a lot of good points there, that some of which I've thought of before and some of which I haven't generally, but I think generally they sort of are compartmentalizable, or you can think of them as being, there is a range sort of people can be born with gene expressions that would have been problematic in the past and aren't now, but they might be problematic in the future. And so if suddenly if suddenly there is no selection pressure against those things, what happens to the phenotypic, population distribution moving forward, and what are the consequences of that?
Yeah, exactly. Even though I don't know what the word phenotypic means, but it sounds brilliant.
Fake it till you make
I
it.
think I'm pretty sure I used it wrong. So
I've no idea whether you did or not. It's like I've never heard it before. But
I'm that guys. To be very clear, I'm that guy that you're watching in the evening or afternoon on a Saturday on YouTube, who just like thinks he knows everything about everything and is really, he's just a guy wearing a weed science shirt. That's all I've got.
Are you related to Leo?
Science shirt.
Are you related
Huh?
to Leo?
To Leo?
Guy on the internet thinks he knows everything.
Leo Filius? No, I have issues with him though. So I'm a patron of his. I'm gonna say, so I am a physicist. I have a PhD in physics. I could pull out my diploma and dox myself if I wanted to right now.
Don't
But I'm
do
not
it.
going to.
We will be talking about this in the future, man. I have got we will
No,
be
no,
having talks.
MathPig, let him finish.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So Leo is an autodidact who has taught himself a lot of physics, and I'm gonna say he knows what he's talking about way more often than he doesn't. He really does have a pretty good understanding of quantum physics, as I understand it. And quantum physics is the part of physics I know. I never studied relativity really, which is ironic because I am now in the business of trying to measure gravitational waves, but that doesn't matter because I'm just the guy who makes the sensor. The Leo, however, does have a certain confidence that I think is unwarranted, and he's wrong about some things. He is, or at least was, under the he held the position that alternative interpretations of quantum mechanics, for example, Bohmian mechanics or pilot wave theory, have been completely ruled out because of entanglement measurements. And he's simply wrong about that. And he's wrong about it. I could go into detail about why he's wrong about it, but he's just wrong about it.
We'll just leave it at that. He's not here to defend himself. I don't like anyone and all the rest of it. I was just making a joke, you know. We all love Leo. Leo comes on here all the time, and he does.
He's really good. He's really good. If you just accepted everything Leo said about quantum physics, you would do better than 99% of the other people on the internet that you could do that with.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a high compliment.
That's a high. Yeah.
Because
it's more of an insult against the internet than it is.
Oh, okay, I see.
You have to judge the high compliment relative.
But it is a high
to the
compliment.
low
It is a high
bar.
compliment.
Relative.
If you just believe everything he says about physics, you're gonna end up better than you started off. If you don't have a degree in it, almost all the time. You'd have to be somebody like Leo for that not to be true. That's my point.
You see, the thing is, physics is only one thing.
So now I'm worried.
And-
I'm worried he's suddenly going to show up on this stream, and I'm going to have a debate with Leo. Like,
Ooh, I would love to do that, man. Yeah, we're gonna have a.
I
physics
do want.
debate.
I would like to see that. Just not tonight.
See
'cause-
that? Yes, not host that, because if you say it, I got Gur's internet connection broke. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you thought I was gonna steal
Quack.
some more thunder, MathPig?
Steal my thunder. I poo. You eat my thunder.
Yeah, thunder is delicious, especially with some cinnamon.
I don't like cinnamon. Made traditional.
What kind
apple
of
pie didn't even
human?
put enough cinnamon.
Let me guess, you don't like chocolate either.
oh man,
I'm
now
more of a
nervous.
gummy fan. I like my Haribo.
You like what?
Haribo. Tang-tastic.
I thought you said hairy boat.
Oh my
Oh
goodness!
god
shit,
damn
no.
it!
I was just trying to.
No, we're
I
not
was
doing that.
just trying
No,
to
we're not
find
doing
him
that.
on
No.
Discord. I was just trying to find you on Discord.
Oh boy. Oh man. Have you been in chat, Leo? Have you been here?
I wasn't gonna join until you said so, and then I was like, "Oh, I gotta do this. There's no way I don't come in now. Come on."
Okay.
Leo, tell him how wrong he
So
is.
I now that I'm reevaluating everything I said in the context of knowing that you were listening to it, I want to state that I'm a big fan of yours. I've been a patron.
Well,
can
you
probably
weren't
check.
wrong with what you said, except for one small detail, but it's only a small detail. And the part that you were wrong about isn't that I was wrong about something. So,
Was it
What
that I
is
was
it?
wrong about something?
No,
I
Leo,
thought
it's never
the
wrong
funny
about
thing
anything.
Is you were the one that actually corrected me on this? Is that I thought entanglement observations ruled out non-local hidden variable theories, which is not true. And you're the one
Yeah.
that corrected me on that one.
Well, okay, and for the record, I may have been inconsistent when I was speaking, but I did attempt at least to clarify that was your position. I wasn't sure about your present position.
Ox has a question for Weasel.
Oh, yes.
Wants to know what that foot tastes like.
Because putting your foot in your mouth is what he's implying.
I don't think I did.
I don't think you did.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
Joke, it's a joke.
It's Ox is one of those people who's best to just ignore and say, yeah.
I mean, well, that's the thing is, again, this is one of those situations. By the way, Leo, I've wanted to talk to you for a long time because I am a big fan, and I think you're fantastic. So
Is that
there's
what he was
that.
saying earlier? I don't remember. No, I'm just kidding.
Is someone having a little star? Is someone starstruck here?
A little bit. A little bit.
Oh,
Famous internet people. I mean, you're my idea of a famous internet person, so it might be a bad idea, but.
Am I what they
I
call a
can
niche
facilitate
internet
this.
micro celebrity?
What was that?
I said, am I what they
Micro-C.
call a niche internet micro celebrity?
Yes. Yes, you are. That's exactly.
Okay, and we're not going to encourage.
Why?
We're
He
not
was giving a
encouraging
compliment.
Leo's narcissism. He's already bad enough. His head's like this size.
That's true.
MathPig's just
but,
mad
like,
that I'm better than he is. What?
How many people here? How many people? Okay,
You
question.
can math
How many
better,
people
but
on
I've
the
got these
screen
magic
ha-
hands, so you know.
How many people on the screen have gotten Leo to change an idea that he had about physics?
Well, that's a pretty
Okay, yeah,
pretty
I'm not worried
limited.
about helping
Gur's got his
I'm
hand
not
up.
worried about
Gur's got
helping
his hand
ego.
up. I can see Gur. I can see Gur on the
Yeah.
other screen.
Let me tell you.
I have not gotten Leo to change his mind on anything ever.
Don't get me started on light particles. I tell you what, photons.
Light particle. Oh god, you say it like fucking God, what's his name? Why am I drawing a blank right now? I've debated him twice.
What's it gets
Jesus
it?
fucking Christ. Yes, thank you, Gur. Whitsitt gets it. Austin Whitsitt. He's a flat earther. I want to debate him, but I want to debate him on the subject of theoretical physics because he says a lot of very wrong things.
Oh, I'm not surprised
Like what?
at all.
Well, that like
I'm not
general
a theoretical
relativity.
physicist, by the way. I
General
would not be
relativity is.
surprised- Yeah.
What's that?
I was just going to say, I am not a theoretical physicist. I am an experimental physicist. I have a very particular, specific
You have a certain set of
niche,
skills.
which
It's the
did
sensor.
overlap with the entanglement question, but doesn't really overlap with the relativity question. That being said, everybody on this on the screen here, including almost everybody in chat, I would imagine, could probably wipe the floor with your average flat earther. Even if you just gave them like just a shit ton of fucking sedatives right beforehand.
But one
I've
thing
had to
he said that really
apologize.
made I actually laughed out loud was he said that general relativity is irrelevant to cosmology. I literally I was drinking when he said it. We could pull up the MDD VOD. I was drinking when I said it, and I literally spit liquid out of my mouth when I heard that. I was like, "What the fuck did you just say?" Like, you
I don't think I believe
literally
you. Say it
cannot
again.
do
I don't think
cosmology without it.
I heard
What
it
are you
right. I don't
talking
think I heard
about?
it right. Say it again.
That general relativity
Leo,
is
I don't think I heard you
irrelevant.
correctly.
General relativity is
sorry.
irrelevant to cosmology. Oh. Oh.
MathPig, you can put me
Okay.
backstage anytime you like while these two are stroking each other on physics.
There's
stuff,
another.
'cause
There's
it's like,
another 3 slots, 4 slots. If anyone else wants to come in, we've got Michael in the chat. We've
Yeah,
got
it was.
I'm
it was,
also
it was
Michael.
more. It was more that actually.
I'd like a lady to join.
I
Too
don't
much
understand
pens.
anything that's going on here. Really, they're talking physics.
Yeah, I don't know shit either. Like we can go
Physics
drink
is-
beer and
physics is brilliant.
throw balls at something.
Yeah.
I'm just
Well,
letting them have a wee
I'm
minute.
drinking
The only
beer.
the only way I'm drinking.
Cheers,
vodka,
Leo.
so-
Leo, you're above me. Chin chin. I'm below you. Chin chin. There you go.
Wait, which way am I going here? I'll just do
Straight
this.
down, straight down. Just straight down. There you go. There you go. Chin, chin.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question to the panel?
I don't know, Leo. What do you think? Is he allowed to ask questions?
Well, that's not my panel. Don't ask me shit.
Fuck me. It's not like I own this channel or anything. Yes, you can. If it's inappropriate, Leo will try and answer and I'll kick him.
So
Don't ask questions about Marxism.
Are you guys familiar with the Dapper Dinosaur?
Yes, I know the Dapper
Yes.
Dinosaur. He went live either earlier today or yesterday.
Yeah. Good. I can't remember which, but yes. So I'm thinking about, or planning on rather, having a debate with him, I guess in January, on Cheshire Vic's channel, on the subject of
Oh shit!
if young
On the
Earth
sub-
creationism is as unreasonable to believe as flat Earth. My position is no, it is not. Flat Earth
Oh,
is more
man.
unreasonable than young Earth creation.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That is my position.
I would take up.
I think they're both
Right?
equally
it's a hard
unreasonable.
one because
It's
it's
not
a
by a
hard
long
one
much,
because
yeah,
because
not by much.
to first, second, third, and fourth order, is 0.0 greater than 0
I agree.
is kind of what it feels like, and I understand that.
You didn't ask the difference. You just asked the positioning, and I agree with your positioning.
Yeah, it's not by a long stretch by any means, but
No.
yeah, I do feel like it's just.
I just don't know if I can put them on these, like, make one, like, I couldn't make one worse than the other. They're both just awful. Like, I don't.
I agree,
Oh, yeah.
but
No
I
one's
think
disputing that.
here's the thing. Flat Earth. Flat Eartherism is not consistent, for example, with last Thursdayism. If the universe was invented last Thursday and all of our brains were just implanted with all these memories, the Earth is still fucking round because of all of the reasons that don't depend in any way on data that is informative about the past. Flat Earth is a metaphysical, or physical rather, theory about the present. Young Earth creationism is about the past. You could have last Thursdayism with Young Earth creation. You could have Slarta Bartfast's planetary factory with Young Earth creationism. You couldn't have them with Flat Earth. You just
Yeah, so
couldn't.
you're saying flat Earth is inconsistent
It's worse.
with more.
It is inconsistent with more facets that are just obviously true. All
Mhm.
you need to know about flat Earth is what the stars look like in 3 places on Earth, and
Mhm.
the fact that light goes in mostly a straight line. Those 2 facts, you're done. As far as I can tell.
Oh, but I thought gravity
Every now and again, I'll send you. Do you know Dale? Do you know the Scottish flat earther Dale?
The computer?
No, his name is Dale. He is Scottish. He swears.
Is he a Scottish
sailor.
computer?
He streams from his little shed at the bottom of the garden. He gets massive views, lots of flat. Just go in and troll
Still?
people, have fun with them. He streams quite regularly. If you're just feeling down on yourself and you want to be smarter than people, you know, it's fun. It's a good laugh.
How many viewers does he get a stream? How many
Oh.
viewers do they get a
I
stream?
mean, if I wanted
should
to be
say.
smarter than somebody, I would just hang out with Leo all the time.
Oh!
I laid it up and he
Hashtag
smacked it out of the
roasted.
park. Well,
Okay.
No, I would encourage somebody, if they want to be smart, just go to university. Like, don't.
I actually
Just
laid it up for
surround
Leo
yourself
to
with those
pick
kind
on
of
Gur,
people.
but well done.
You
Weezy,
you
for
are
taking
the
it.
only person, by the way, that I know of who is self-taught. Hold on, am I gonna just stroke his ego by saying this? Yeah, probably. Oh well.
All the way off. Stroke it all the way off.
But you're one. As I said, you really are one of the very few people that I know who is self-taught that has a robust understanding of these topics. It is quite good.
Now,
Your
I
economics still suck.
genuinely try my
Leo,
best. I still question
Your
myself
your
all
economics
the
may
fucking
suck.
time.
I don't know. I don't know anything about economics.
Leo,
Well,
he
my
usually gets
economics
about
doesn't
5 or
suck.
6,000 average views per live stream, and probably a couple of hundred watching live at the time. It's good fun, like, you know. I just it is good fun. They're so stupid, and their arguments, like, I triggered the shit out of a
I
guy
just need a
'cause I
big
asked
pair
him
of
if he was
glasses and I can be bigger.
I asked him if he was watching on his mobile. He said yes. I asked him to turn his phone round. It instantly went 16 by 9. There you go. There's proof of gravity. There's a sensor in your phone that detects gravity. That motherfucker tweaked.
I
Very badly
don't know. Do we have labels on the stream for names? Because I know that Titan was asking who I was, and I haven't been paying attention to chat, so.
well,
I don't
I'm
like to put
Urpig.
people's
I
names.
don't have a channel, but like it's
And I know we
because
got
I
MathPig.
know Titan has seen my username
State.
an
It's
uncountable
Mr.
number of times
Tapioca
before.
Weasel.
So. Yes.
I don't think I know who Z is. Who is Z?
Who
You
is
know
Z?
Z is heretic. Mr.
Welcome to
PRE
the
in chat.
stream, Z. Hey, in all honesty, it would be nice if you put names up so we could see
That would be great.
who the fuck we're talking to.
No. It'll ruin my setup. I have to.
Oh, we wouldn't want to ruin your setup, would we?
Oh,
Girl, have you looked at the stream? You may be showing this, but this isn't what you look like on stream.
Why would
Hold on.
I'm not even. What? Why am I a clown?
Titan, you should totally join the stream if you want. I don't know. It's not my stream, so I shouldn't invite people. But there is
no, we
I
don't
won't
want.
join.
Titan has such a droll voice. It's all. Blah, blah, blah.
I've
That's fine,
tried to get
but
him on my
he has
stream.
questions.
I have questions.
I've got a question.
I have questions. Oh man, I was watching The Princess Bride, and when he ends up in the pit of despair, the guy's like, "You're in the pit of despair." You're in the pit of despair. Sorry about that.
I
love it.
love that fucking movie. That movie is so good. Maybe it's nostalgia, but that movie's so good. The pit of despair.
Titan, I don't know what information you want though. Ask specific questions in the chat, and I can answer them.
Yeah, tag me. Ask a specific question. I will ask Michael.
Or go back to the clown profile.
I don't
pic,
want
or,
to.
Picture.
Did you say
Good.
you'll ask Michael?
Yeah.
Well, okay, good memory.
I don't know what we're talking about. What's going
I
on?
was just gonna say, what are we talking
Well,
about?
hold on. Who are we talking about? Because my name is Michael.
Hold
Yes,
up.
I know. You asked
Hold
me
up
to
now.
ask you a question. I said tag me, and I will then ask Michael.
I said that once this entire stream, and most people, including you, I would have expected to be more inebriated than that. To be able to remember that detail. So,
You expect
I'm
way
impressed.
too much from MathPig. Way too much. What is that?
way
mouthwash?
too little. No, it's way too little. I expected way
Way
too
too
little.
just enough. No, way too just enough.
I'm pretty
Way
high.
too
Don't
just-
get me wrong, man. I must have smoked about.
What do you
3
mean?
grams.
Okay, so Titan,
It
are
was
you
so
saying you
much
don't want me-
just enough. It couldn't have been better or worse.
I don't want you to ask a question, or I don't want you to join the stream. I have no idea. He needs to clarify his position. It's really bothering me.
His position is that his voice makes women pregnant and men gay. I thought it just made everybody fall asleep.
Gay or bi? Because if it's bi, get on stream immediately. I would love to expand my horizons. If it's gay,
Yeah, I thought you did
physicist,
when
so
Leo
get on
showed
stream
up.
immediately. It will obviously expand
You
my
like the drama
horizons.
too much, huh?
So, people have joined and I haven't got an opportunity to ask them the question which started the entire stream. Leo, you haven't been watching, you've been lurking and just wanted to talk physics because you're, you know, you. And it has
He
Well,
was
no,
being
I
called
just-
out. He was
No,
being
shut
called
the
out.
fuck up. Right, let me finish. Leo, have you went through something in your life that you would consider suffering that at the time felt awful, was bad, but now looking back upon it, taught you something, made you deal better? Can you be thankful for something that caused you suffering in your life?
Watching MathPig streams do not count, Leo.
Well, I suppose that someone can be thankful for those things.
I'm asking you. We've asked
In,
everyone
in,
else.
in the instance, like for me, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm thankful for the suffering that I've endured.
No, but thankful for going through it.
I'm not thankful for that. Sure, it may have like helped mold me into the person. Of course, it played a part in molding me into the person that I am today. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I would have rather not gone through it.
Did
I still think suffering is generally a bad thing. Again, generally speaking.
With it, like, if you don't want to talk about it and it's not relative to the question, I'm not sure.
Well, no, I'm just that's my perspective. No, I'm not thankful for any of the suffering I've gone through. I would have rather not gone through it, despite the fact that it's contributed to who I am as a person today.
Oh, but then that brings me back to the
on it.
question I asked the panel earlier, Mr. Tapioca. I do believe you were here for this.
Tapioca?
If you were a person, you know, if you had lawnmower parents or whatever that, you know, decent amount of money wiped out all your problems and stuff, then so you didn't have to go through that suffering, where do you think you would be now?
Wait, who are you asking?
Not me.
You, directly, Dale.
Me?
Yes.
You're asking me? Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
I referenced Mr. Tapioca Weasel because they did some motions.
Just phase right
I
out of
thought
that
you
question.
were talking to. I didn't.
No, they caught my eye because they were
Repeat
dancing.
the question. I'm sorry.
Is that a secret lab, by the way? Is that a secret lab gaming chair?
Mine?
No. Mr. Tapioca Weasel, I do believe, owns a secret lab fucking gaming chair. It
fucking
is
love
secret
it.
lab. Right.
I do. I'm sorry. I love
It's
it.
the
Is
fucking
this a
only
problem?
one worth. Yeah. Okay. Right.
But
Leo,
MathPig, I
if
don't-
you didn't go through that suffering, then where would you be? Would you have the confidence to come onto the internet? Would you have?
I don't
this...
think that.
No, go. It's all yours. All yours, man. The floor is yours.
I don't think that I can comment as to where I would be. Quite frankly, I think it's hard to say. I could be in a similar position. I could be in an entirely different position.
I'm asking your thoughts on it, not an actual fucking multiple reality.
Well, but these are my thoughts on it. I don't know what to say because I don't know. Human life is a very much a non-linear thing, in my opinion. I think it's very, very hard to predict where we could have been. I mean, think about it. If you grew up in a family that was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, where do you think you'd be? What kinds of opinions do you think you would hold in that instance? I mean,
right. If
you
I
know,
get a
but
chance
say you were born in China.
Let me answer one of these questions that you keep rambling about. Well, that was the point I was making to other people earlier, was that, you know, you can be in that situation where there is no instances. The things that people brought up was you wouldn't know what the difference between good and bad is. You wouldn't know other people. You wouldn't know this, that, and the other. But these things...
I don't think that's true.
I'm being fucking paraphrasing. Shut up and let me finish. You're taking the same sort of extreme that I was going with. If you always have all your problems wiped out, then all your problems are wiped out. Then you don't have to worry about them. You don't... The only time that it comes as an issue is when you stop having all your problems sorted. Have I misinterpreted what you were saying, or are you too drunk and high?
Well, no. I guess what I would be working from is the idea that the interests that an individual has is going to be largely informed by the material conditions under which they live. Somebody who doesn't have to worry about food or shelter, transportation, financial security, anything like that, is going to have different interests than somebody who is homeless. And so when you start changing particular variables in people's lives, whether they do or don't go through something, it just, for me, I just think it's very, very difficult to say what sorts of larger scale changes that those may have.
Would you be able to, would you say that that would also apply to the idea of a hypothetical situation where you can make a hypothesis and go forward and try something? Because it's physical, you can then pursue it. Like, do you not do hypothetical situations?
Of course. I mean, if we're talking a hypothetical where we're in an ideal scenario and we're keeping a variety of things static, that's very different.
Okay, let's not be pedantic and autistic and all, because you're gonna make fucking Mr. Weasel.
What? No, I was just.
He's just being precise.
What? Yeah,
I'm
MathPig.
autistic as well, man.
Dude.
Just
No, guys, MathPig's fucking with me.
you raise Leo up and I knock him back down to keep him real. Right?
Oh, that makes sense then.
I'm done talking. We've got
Yin and yang.
Plus, you
got from
ruined my
range to
fucking trail
reason
of
here.
thought. No, you ruined my trail of thought. Made me feel all worried about what I said. Now I'm basically a racist. Knock. Speaking of
Nacho
racist, how are you?
sushi.
No, joke's not landing. All right.
Nacho sushi.
No.
Where is
Knock, are you there?
Where's James A. Person?
James
I see a James
Apperson,
A. Person.
He got a phone call, had to go, didn't get a chance to come back.
I was
So-
looking at
Well,
his chat,
he just
sorry.
put a smiley face in.
Are we
So-
still? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I wanted to come in and kind of push back on the idea that flat Earth is sillier than young Earth creationism.
No! Where's the kick button? Where's the kick button?
I put it in the side chat, right? So think about it, right? I can
Hold on,
totally.
I missed it. I missed anything in the side chat about this topic. So yeah, I need a refresh.
I can totally understand a flat earther, even though I think they're dumb, right? Like I can understand the idea of not trusting government agencies, of
All of science.
being skeptical of what government agencies are telling you. Now, most flat earthers are flat earthers because they're young Earth creationists and they believe the four corners of the Bible bullshit. And if you think about it, the very notion of the Christian God, right? Like, so young Earth creationists believe the God man made the universe and 6,000 years ago, that he made two people that were special and he liked barbecued foreskins. Way sillier than flat Earth. Way sillier.
Did you
No,
just
because
fart?
flat Earth entails
My
that.
opinion.
Flat Earth does not logically entail that, but it factually entails that, as held by almost everybody who subscribes to flat Earth.
I don't know why MathPig's bitching at me about being pedantic with Tapioca's the one getting into different modalities up in here. Come on, MathPig, what's going on?
There's
I
only two
have-
thoughts went through my mind when they stood up and did that. Number one, did they fart that bad that they have to waft it away from
And
themselves?
did they have
And
pets on?
secondly, can I have your secret lab chair when you're finished with it?
Yes, you can.
Was it yes to the
was-
first question as well?
Hey,
It was the
Math-
second one. It was to the second one. You can have it when I'm done with it, as long as
MathPig.
my friend Tyler in real life doesn't want it.
MathPig, you know something else you can have?
Pardon?
My dick. Sorry.
MathPig,
What? I didn't hear
Mathpig.
Gur. You got your dick out. I don't know what's happening. We don't
MathPig,
have...
do you know what else you can have?
Do I what?
Do you know what else you can have?
Well, I've had your mum and your auntie. What else is there worth talking
I
about?
like Dr. Guy, whose name I...
Dr. Guy, whose name?
Dr. Guy.
What else can I have?
Weasel.
here?
Dr.
Is it
Guy.
D's
Dr.
nuts?
Weasel.
I'm
Is
Dr.
it D's
Guy.
nuts? Can I have D's nuts?
Is that
There's
your,
no-
I mean, do you want some salty chocolate balls?
Is that your answer, MathPig?
Well, you asked what else could I have, and it's you.
And you
talking.
said you wanted these nuts? Why would you even think that?
Salty chocolate balls.
Why's your mind in the gutter, MathPig? I was
Put them
not
in your
gonna
mouth
say
and suck them
anything
and
like
suck them.
He took
Yeah, I
it
mean,
really gay really quick, didn't he?
I mean, we're all pretty sure that Gur doesn't have any balls.
Simultaneous
Ah.
love.
Well, he doesn't have
Two
salty chocolate
or
balls.
three.
That's the
Oh,
word.
sorry, Lord
Simultaneously.
Fang. I haven't had his sister yet. There you go. I haven't had your sister yet.
Oh God.
He is all about my sister, that little biatch. And
Oh,
will
I didn't know you
never
had
say,
this, sir. I doth declare.
I do
Are you
declare.
praying?
I
Leo?
doth proclaim.
Yeah, I like how
What?
we can't see Leo's face. all
Yeah,
we
what
see
the
is his
fuck? What are you
hands.
doing?
What do you, I didn't hear what you said, MathPig.
Are you praying?
No. Well, who the fuck would I be praying to?
I have no
Do
idea.
you know what you look like on screen right now? Do you know what your camera shot looks like? Because you got the
Not
You look like you're
particularly. I
praying.
can't really see it. Oh well, that's
What
cool.
somebody should
We'll
do.
see.
Yeah, we can't. So do the mental geometry, do the ray tracing of your webcam to your eyeballs around your hands, and you'll see what we're talking about. If
Yeah.
you didn't already, which I'm sure you did.
Michael, are you
Yeah,
coming
maybe.
in?
Titan,
Titan, you
you
have
do
to
it.
really aren't
join.
that folded,
Titan,
they're just
join
crossed.
Michael, come
Join
join
us.
us so Titan can.
You never answered.
Ah,
Also,
that's
Michael, you should
proclaim.
also. We can make it a mic party. My name is also Michael. I already said that like 4 times. Sorry.
No, just
This
the one.
is going rather downhill.
I
This
think
is
we
going
did cut off
downhill,
Knock.
MathPig.
What
Get
about
some
Stacy?
moderation skills here.
I do think
Madonna.
Knock was saying something.
Waiting for Nirvana. Way before Nirvana.
Midnight had something to say, and I think
Ah.
Midnight
You
would
too,
have an
Bruce
awful.
Springsteen. Music still on MTV. Her 2 kids in high school.
Who
To
did
tell
we
her
get?
that she's uncool.
We got Michael.
That she's still preoccupied with 1985.
I have
Hello.
to say though, we have I don't know. Mr. Weasel, we've got Michael Weasel and
I saw
Michael
him in concert one
Grand.
time.
Michael is
Oh,
grand. You're a weasel.
It's a mic party. I had a mic party in college. Only people named Mike or Michael were invited.
Well, but wait,
And
what's
then-
the
I bet if you Googled
There-
the phrase
you're
"mic
absolutely
party,"
right, Leo. You're absolutely right, Leo. There is no difference. Fair point.
Big difference. I would never
Mike.
allow anyone to call me Mike.
Oh well, I'm okay
Mike.
with it. I'm okay with it. But you understand what we're talking about? Like,
Michael,
Somebody needs to go
right,
with
hold
speed,
on,
because his name
hold
is
on.
Mike.
Now, Leo, I know it's difficult.
Huh?
If you could stop praying to the math gods for a second.
I'm not praying.
Okay.
There's only one thing I'm praying on, my friend.
Oh, I really want to hit the mute button, but right.
Flurford?
No.
I know that you're generally busy. You don't be able to listen until about 7:30 your time or whatever. So you've probably missed the channel. Maybe just seen the thumbnail and read the description. Back is
Man,
left.
I live in
so-
California. What are you talking
Shut
about?
the
But,
fuck up! Right, you're worse than Leo. This is why I asked if you were related. Michael, you also have a PhD. Swing your PhD around, right? This cunt's up here. No, you don't.
Show me.
Windmill it for everybody to see.
Show me.
Michael
yours,
is
I'll show you
educated.
mine.
Michael is educated
So, Michael, is your
in the field of
PhD
philosophy.
circumcised or
And I would. Oh, I'm
uncircumcised?
gonna kick that motherfucker.
It's a circumcised PhD? Sweet.
In the United States, so
God bless you.
even though I'm not ethnically Jewish, it's just where I was born. What's the question?
There we go. Mute everybody. I love that button. Michael, question. Do you think, right, that we should be thankful for some of the suffering that we go through in our life because of the things and the lessons that we learn from it? Do you have something that you may not need to have to describe, but a lesson that you learn from it? And do you have something that you could add to a list that would be a necessary evil that we would have to go through for character building? There you go. Now I'll hit. Now anyone can talk. There you go. Oh fuck me! That's the first thing you heard.
How serious do you want this answer?
I would generally like a real serious answer. I also would like the kick button for Leo, but it's hidden at the minute, so he's lucky.
Oh, don't kick Leo. No.
Someone needs. No, I only kick Leo if people send me 50 quid.
But
No, someone actually sent me 50 quid one night. to
Don't
get
get
me.
any wild hairs up your ass there, Gur. Little son of a bitch.
If you can remember, Michael. So there you go. Them
Yeah.
three things.
Well, okay. I'll give. I know y'all were just talking about scrotum sacks and penises, but I don't know. I don't think. I think there are some evils that are not beneficial. So I would agree with Marilyn McCord Adams. She wrote a really fantastic paper about this notion of horrendous evils. She's a philosopher / theologian, and she says she defines horrendous evils as evils which threaten to engulf the meaning of an individual's life. And of course, I think that people can experience horrendous evils, and I think that not everybody can make meaning out of certain evils that they experience. So, yeah, I don't think everything works out for the good. I think there are some evils that an individual can experience that would that's not recoverable
that they are
Which
unable
evils?
to recover from.
If,
What's
if I,
that?
Which evils?
I mean, that's largely subjective, right? Because we all
Yeah,
experience
but
things in different ways. So, examples of horrendous evils might include acts, being a victim of sexual violence, of physical violence, of witnessing things like the loss of a loved one, um, the experience of a natural disaster,
See,
the
they're all
loss of.
personal though on that stage, you know. Making
Well, yeah,
reference,
sure.
yeah, making reference to my wee girl because she's amazing and I love to talk about her. She accepts death very, very well. Before she was 4, the family dog and her grandfather that she was very close to, you know, and hung about with in the morning. They all lived together. You know, she grew up with him, and both the family dog and he passed away. Uh, like shockingly accepting of it. She left a doll one time in the corner and ran off with the other one, and my mum was, you know, why did you leave Queenie in the corner? Oh, Queenie died. Queenie got sick and died. She didn't come home from the hospital, so I'm going to go play with this other one. And it's just kids imagining things, but you know, as you say, with different person. But to bring it back down and try and slam it in, and I'm going to keep rambling until I can think of what I'm saying. Necessary evils as an example. Gurr used falling in love for the first time and then breaking up. Hertic used making a mistake and being ridiculed to a point for your mistake so that you're aware of it. You know, real life examples is sort of what I'm looking for, Michael. You know,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there. I mean, there's absolutely. I think you could absolutely make the case that the experience of some suffering is for like the greater good. I mean, on a practical level, exercise is a good
we
example
were
of that.
using character building.
Yeah. Exercise sucks, and it's a horrible experience for the most part, but it's on the whole beneficial. In the same way, an individual might take something. I mean, it doesn't. This is why I say it's inherently subjective because people experience things like first love or the loss of a loved one or personal tragedy like losing one's house or losing one's job. That hits people different. I mean, Chris is here,
Yeah.
so he can speak to that better than me. But that affects that hits everyone differently, and I don't think there's a standard that you can say, okay, this constitutes a horrendous evil or a necessary evil because that's largely subjective. But the point that I'm trying to make is that um, I don't. There are some things that an individual can experience that could uh, engulf any sort of positive meaning that they could ascribe to their life.
I mean,
Um,
well, no, I just
yeah.
wanted to say for me, that's the. I mean, I'm sure there are some things that someone goes through where they're done, but I feel like I feel like that's no, that's underestimating somebody's resilience. You know what I mean, or the human spirit. That's just the way. It seems like you're saying, right? Like someone can go through something and just never recover, whereas I'm like, whereas I'm like, I do believe in the human spirit to to recover, to be resilient, to become stronger.
Hundred
Your
percent.
move.
100. No, I agree with that 100%. My concern is for the person going through it. So I don't know if anybody here has ever been in this situation before, where you have experienced something horrible. Let's say when I was younger, my grandfather helped to raise me, and when I lost my grandfather, a lot of people said would come to me and say, "Okay, it'll be okay eventually. Just give it some time." Right, which is a horrible thing to say to somebody that just lost somebody. So I'm not trying to underplay human resilience, but what I'm trying to do is to make room for the fact that for some people it doesn't work out, and for some people they can't make meaning out of it, or at least leave that possibility open because there's plenty of people that you could speak to that would tell you that no, I can't make sense of this.
And for some people, grief takes longer to overcome than others. Some never overcome grief, right?
Right.
Like it's it's life
Well,
is complicated.
right. If I can ask you a question on that, Michael, there's the standard study that all of us could probably quote about the person being on heroin. You know, when you're on heroin and it's awful bad and you can't get off it and shit like that. But people go to hospital all the time and get given this same strength of opiates, and then they go home. And they've done studies on mice, and it's because of the support group and people around you. Do you think that the ability to overcome a personal trauma, if you say for talk's sake had two twins, one on their own and one with a group of friends or a family support group, do you feel the environment comes upon that, or is it always, it's got a sign around his fucking neck now, do you think it's always, you know, genetics and ourselves and the way we come up with life, or is it the support group at the time, the necessity or the need of having one?
Why not both? I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool. It's
I've been in that
Chris is
situation.
Fucking be controversial, man. It's a Saturday night, fuck's sake. Stop being so nice. Look, take a lesson from Weasel. He came back wearing a sign, you know?
Wait, is Simon's backstage? Never mind.
I've been in that situation. I did a few stints in rehab, and people who are able to hold on to recovery, it does start with them. They have to have the drive in them, but definitely, if you don't have family support, you're absolutely screwed. Because everybody's at rehab because they got sent there by the courts. Well, once you're done with your 30-day stint, what happens? Do you have a support group? That's not the people you used to run around and do dope with. A lot of people don't. So no matter how much drive you have, if you're living back at the dope house, you're probably not going to recover.
Yeah, right.
You're right, Taylor. There's a lot of people that do not have support groups. There's a lot of people that don't have family. There's a lot of people who choose not to speak to anybody about anything, which is probably why so many men commit suicide. However, there's also resilience that can come from that if you don't have that, and you have to work your way through it. And it might take a little bit longer. But to take the UK as an example, not a lot of people go to counselling. Certainly not in the way that Americans do.
We have people getting out of prison. If you just did a 15-piece in prison for distribution, and then you get out, you do a 30-day in rehab, and then you're out on parole, they give you a bus ticket back to the county of your conviction, and I think it's $200 and a weekend at a hotel. So after that, if you don't have somebody willing to take you in and put you on your feet, no matter how much willpower you have, at some point you might just not have the means.
Okay, you're talking about a very specific point, though. You're talking about a very specific thing.
Well, it's specific, but it's not uncommon. It's very common, though.
Yeah, but there's
it'd be nice if we had the social systems that were capable of furnishing things like restorative and rehabilitative measures rather than whatever dumb shit we have now.
That was going to be my ultimate point, Leo. But I want to point out in this discussion, like most addicts don't recover. I mean, your highest percentage rate, your highest percentage rate is like 10%, and that's through a 12-step program, and that percentage is like really screwy. Like recovery when you're an addict, it's an everyday thing. So like most people are going to relapse. Most people are not going to recover from an addiction.
Well, you're choosing a very specific niche area. If you take it wider and look at depression or anxiety or other psycho aspects, not psycho as in nutty, but
psychological.
Psychological issues that everybody goes through. There are differences in different countries about how much people will go to get help. And I don't know which is a better system. I haven't got a clue. I'm not going to try and claim one system is better than the other, but there are just differences. And I'm feeling that there's differences here within this stream right now, because when a lot of people talk about counseling, it doesn't come across to me that that's what happens in general in the UK, which is where I'm from, whereas I understand it does happen in general in America.
What do you mean by it doesn't happen? Like counseling doesn't happen, or a successful outcome from counseling?
Counseling.
Okay. I would push back and say, regrettably, that generically speaking, it is not the case in the U.S. either.
Okay.
Most people don't get counseling that need it.
Yeah,
No.
most
Maybe
insurances
more.
don't.
That's true.
Most insurances don't
May I?
cover it. So a lot of people that do need counseling can't get it. That's for sure.
Insurance does not cover my counseling for reasons that are not necessarily always applicable, but nonetheless.
It comes down to
I think
money.
there's a distinction that can be made between the advertising for mental health services versus the actual engagement of mental health services. In America, you certainly see more commercials and advertising for it. So it may give the impression that more counseling is happening in America. And I don't have any of the numbers. But we do need to make a distinction between what is being marketed and who's taking it up, right? The services are provided, they're accessible. Who's utilizing them, and why not for those who aren't? And let's all face the facts that grip has a lot to do with it. For those who don't have, even though in America mental health parity exists, and for those of you that aren't familiar, mental health parity is just the idea that mental health problems are as important as physical health problems and should be treated as such when it comes to personal time off and your employer's benefits and such. And
you're saying that it does. We do have that in America, or we don't? What was it?
America has mental health parity. It absolutely does.
I think it's approaching it much more visibly. I think that it depends on where you're at.
It's a policy. No, this isn't my opinion. This isn't a topic of opinion. Mental health parity exists, and by that I mean when you go to laws looking for mental health.
Okay. I understand what you're. I understand. I think what you're saying better.
Okay.
And that's probably true.
And with that said,
or
and
it
of
is
course,
true.
Yeah, and with that said, that doesn't mean that everybody has access to it, right? So it's if you have insurance, mental health parity is fantastic because your insurance that covers your broken bones also covers your, decreased quality of life or broken brain, to complete the analogy, right? When your foot is broken, you go to a foot doctor. If you have heart problems, you go to a cardiologist. If you have thoughts or emotions or behaviors that are decreasing your quality of life, there's a specialist for that as well. So being able to go to that within the same insurance network is something that is available in the United States for people with insurance. Not everybody has insurance.
And the quality can be fluctuate. That's a generic statement. That's not a useful statement. Ignore I said that.
No, actually, I want to pick up on it because I think it's a good point. Let's talk about the obstacles to going to therapy. The very first one is picking up the fucking phone, right?
Yeah.
Once you overcome that, the second hurdle is talking to somebody that you want to talk to.
Yep, trust is very important.
And rapport, right?
Yep.
I've been very, very lucky. I am a consumer of therapy. I had a wonderful therapist. Unfortunately, he died last year, and I was able to get another therapist that I consider them both Jedi masters. Like, I'm very fortunate to have these people in my lives to help guide my quality of life. I consider myself fortunate because I know I've been through therapists that suck. Like, they wanted to shoehorn their ideas into the problems that I was presenting, and it was clear.
Oh my God,
and
preach.
It didn't. It just
Can I interrupt for
fit.
just one moment?
You may.
I have had one therapist in my entire life. She's amazing. I hit the jackpot very first shot.
That's
I
amazing.
didn't have that problem. And if I had that problem, who knows if I ever would have found a therapist that worked.
Well, think
Not
about
everybody does. I
Think
got
about
lucky.
I got stories from
You
mine.
don't always do.
Hold on.
That was
There's
my
three
point.
people talking. Let Marty finish his point.
Wait, what? There's so many people talking?
I've been.
How many people are talking?
Shut the fuck up.
How many? What is this? 4? 5?
Leo, shut up and let Marty talk.
How many people are talking?
How
Oh
many?
my God.
I'd like to give Midnight a chance as well to say some things, but lots of love, Marty. I really appreciate you joining. I know shit and all the rest of it. Thank you very much for coming in. So
no
if
doubt.
you
Well,
finish up
this
what you're saying.
is a topic worth exploring. I asked permission from the Oracle to come in tonight, and she gave permission. So.
I have wanted to do a fucking stream specifically with the title "Does Trauma cause strength. And it's very difficult to get people to specifically talk about that, which is sort of, I'm not dragging anyone in under any false pretenses, not going directly down that route, but that's sort of a hint upon it. So thank you very much for coming in. So floor is yours.
Oh, so I just wanted to. Who's the gentleman that I was speaking to earlier?
The one with the sign round their neck is a PhD measuring gravitational waves. Daytime drinking. His name is Mr. Weasel.
Mr. Weasel. Okay.
Dr.
Why the
Weasel.
sign?
Dr. Guy.
Okay, well. Oh yeah, because MathPig doesn't have the fucking names. But go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
Midnight. I've already tried to encourage him to put the names up, but he won't do it.
If Gur hadn't have asked,
No worries.
Mike, oh, Christopher, go on ahead, please.
MathPig, would you please put the names up?
Shut the fuck up, Christopher.
Leo. What the fuck?
I'm
So
mute.
somebody else
Now
asked.
Now I'm unmuted. Sorry. Guy with the extremely buttery voice. What's your name?
Oh, that's me. I'm
Yeah,
Gur.
you know exactly who you are.
It's Leo. You're talking to Leo's
It's
already
not
been here for a while.
I'm not talking to Leo. I'm talking to you. Go fuck yourself.
No,
Yeah,
it's
his
really me.
voice,
My
his
name
voice
is
is really
Gardenia.
buttery. I'm envious of that voice.
There we go.
You can call me Chris
Okay.
because that is my name. That's you can call
Yeah,
me.
there
My
we
name is
go.
Chris.
Yeah, Christopher Mouty. Or just
Chris, may I call you Chris?
Yeah, my friends call me Mouty, but you can call me Chris, Christopher, Mouty.
Great leader.
The great leader. The great leader.
I'm putting up a hand. I'm putting up a hand. You just can't see it because I have the camera off. I'm
why are you
honestly,
putting up your hand?
I'm honestly too white to come on camera. I'm an albino, so it's like it'll blind everybody.
Yeah, no, I'm Irish, and even I'm blinded by your skin. Back to Christopher. Please let him finish.
Get a spray tan, Midnight.
Really? Really, Gur?
Mouty,
Go to bed.
I think everybody's just sort of glossing over it.
Yeah, I'm
Mouty,
sorry, Mouty. Go ahead. You finish. Go ahead.
So the topic of the hangout is actually very serious, even though we can have fun with it. But I think that that's an element that needs to be taken into consideration. Can trauma bring you strength? Can we be thankful for our pain? Like these are the topics that you've been throwing
That's the
around.
goal.
And I know that the conversation has waved in and out of that kind of thing. But now that I'm here, I want to directly address that. And that this has everything to do with the advantage of a secular life over a religious life, because meaning making is what you make of it. I mean, you literally have choices in the present that determine the meaning of your future events, regardless of what has happened in the past. So with that in mind, your only obstacles are the ones that you can identify and work on to remove. With that in mind, I'm going to just tell you a quick little story. The best drummer that I know just died yesterday, right? And I received that news from the zillion of people that I went to music school with that I haven't talked to in decades, blowing my fucking phone up to let me know. And I had my therapy session this morning, fortunately. Lex is my therapist. I don't mind giving him a name. And he gave me just the best advice that has everything to do with what you're talking about, right? Tom was a tortured cat, and he's not suffering anymore, right? My ability to frame things like that, and I'm going to keep going, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The ability to reframe things like this. You are allowed to change the narrative of your own life story by making these choices right now. I lost a friend. I could wallow all weekend in how much I miss Tom, because I fucking do. But there is a way to take and honor Tom and this pain and use it as a strength, right? He had his problems. He was depressed. I lived with Tom for over 15 years, right? While we were in school, after we were in school, he was in all of my bands in my early 20s, going into my 30s. Like, he is part of my imaginary audience. When I listen to music and write music, there's always a part of me that's like, what would Tom think? So this is crushing me right now. But I'm able to spin positive, and my ability to make the choice to spin positive makes the difference. It is you're watching meaning making in real time, listening to me say these words. Right? I could make a choice to wallow in fucking shitty feelings all weekend, or I can reframe it and carry with me a part of Tom, knowing how troubled he was, and using that as my strength and living my life, maybe not towards my own goals, because I'm sucky at that. I'm horrible at helping myself. But helping somebody else, I'm pretty good at that. And having Tom in mind for me to live my life for him, not all of my life. I'm not dedicating my life to Tom. Let's not get fucking crazy. But maintaining him in my imaginary audience while he's not alive for the reasons of learning from his experience. When Tom and I live together, you know, he has depression, I have depression. He's an alcoholic, I'm an alcoholic, right? He decided to maintain the musician lifestyle, which is a rough lifestyle. And it wasn't for me, right? It's so rough, I decided to opt out, right? So I decided to do other things and do music on the side. And I'm not convinced that, you know, Tom really had somebody to talk to like that after we stopped living together. And he's such an amazing drummer. I kind of think he surrounded himself with people who kind of enabled his the worst elements of him, because like he's the best fucking drummer in Philly. So like any hokum band that had him in it just made them shine that much brighter because he was fucking phenomenal. It's like Vinny Colaiuta on goddamn drums. This guy's a fucking monster. And unfortunately, he didn't get to the level of Vinny Colaiuta because of his reputation. His reputation was of being a great drummer who got wasted on all the gigs. Right? So these are lessons to be learned. I'm not talking smack about my buddy Tom. Right? Let's be clear about how much I love him. And I'm talking out of truth and honesty. And that's the only way to move forward in these situations. Again, this is the advantage of a secular lifestyle as compared to a religious one. Instead of having a predetermined meaning that you have to fucking wrench your life to accommodate, you get to make these decisions that I'm saying right now. You're seeing it happen in real time right now. I'm able to take the pain that because I'm moments away from just turning my fucking camera off right now. This is meaning making. This is how you take pain and turn it into a positive.
Yeah, I can really tell that. Yeah, I can really tell, Chris, that God damn it, I'm stuttering as well. I can really tell that, you know, that what you just described is really, really hurting you, especially since it literally happened. I don't know, yesterday. It happened, okay, and it's definitely, I do definitely agree with you that you could either you could either sit there and, you know, like, you know, let these feelings get to you, or you could use it as a strength. Like, my friend is still alive, but, you know, but I did still. My friend is still alive, but I do understand the pain of, like, losing somebody you were really close to, and that pain just eating you up alive, right? Like, I could have been like, okay, you know what, my best friend cut ties with me. I could just, I don't know, wallow in self-pity or use it as a strength to improve myself. I mean, like, you know what I mean? I get what you're going through. It's similar, but it's not the same. I don't know if anyone wants to call me out on, I don't know, but just figured I share. But I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. You know, I'm always here on Discord if you want to talk or something. I don't know.
I love that. I'm always here, but on Discord.
Well,
Midnight.
hey, I can't
Midnight.
physically give him a hug.
Look, man,
Midnight.
people pick on me all the time because my dog has a fucking seat, and when they hear me shout at my dog, it's like, get up and lay down. How did they get up and lay down? He's so...
Chris, Midnight is offering to be your next therapist.
Not really. I mean,
I hope he's as good as all the others that you've had.
well, I mean, I'm just here to be a friend. Like a
It was a throwaway comment, Midnight.
Yeah, no, I know.
Just
I get
throw
you.
away. throwaway. It was just a funny little aside rather than a conversation.
Yeah, but
I was interested in something that you did say, Chris, and it was right at the beginning before you started talking about your friend.
Yeah.
And it was about secular people can understand this, but that suggests, and I don't know whether I'm right here with what you were saying, it suggests that you're saying religious people can't.
No.
Right, okay. I
said
just
it's more difficult.
I don't know. I don't know exactly what you were saying with that statement.
Well, Chris, please explain yourself before I chime in.
I think that you're going to nail the thing that I want to say. So, Michael, go ahead.
Oh, now you put a lot of weight on my shoulders. Well,
don't get kinky.
So, how I interpreted Chris, there's kind of this. I'll try to use as little jargon as possible, but there's kind of this distinction that starts to happen with, especially with the existentialist philosophers. I'm thinking of, especially like Jean-Paul Sartre, who said that existence precedes essence. The idea that we exist first and that we make the meaning of our existence afterwards. Whereas in classical theology, I mean, I'm thinking especially here of Christian theology or the monotheistic traditions as a whole. There's this idea, especially with the doctrine of creation, that God intentionally created human beings for a particular purpose. So on that view, if you are a Jew, Christian, or Muslim, your purpose has already been predefined, pre-established, or foreordained by God. There's not really a whole lot of choice in that respect. You've been created for a particular purpose. Whereas for the secularist or the maybe existentialist, if we want to use philosophical jargon, we have a lot more flexibility. And part of that flexibility with the story that Chris just shared, and Chris, I think, thank you for sharing that. I know that's extraordinarily difficult for you to not only have experienced that, but then to talk about it the next day. Hats off to you. I'm sorry to hear about that. But thank you, because I think a lot of people can relate to that experience. But with your experience specifically, you have the flexibility to say in that moment, well, I can make meaning of this on my own terms and within my own context. I don't know if that's what you were going to say, Chris, but that's what it made me think of.
Yeah, in so many words. From my perspective, and this is open for discussion, I guess, but religions have a predetermined way of dealing with these things, and unfortunately, they involve was Tom a sinner or a saint? Is he in hell or is he in heaven? And that is a shitty way of dealing with that is a shitty process for dealing with loss and grief, right? And that's just me again coming at it from a secular psychological perspective. So I just can't imagine a predetermined way of having to behave about anything, knowing that we have the superpower of making the choices in the present about how we move forward in the world.
You're your own architect.
Yeah, I don't know how wide and how universal across Christians those two perspectives are, because I think they both looked at it from a particular interpretation, and a lot of Christians may agree with you, but a lot of Christians or Jews or Muslims may disagree with you around the concepts of free will and their lives and how they deal with trauma and pain in their lives, whether it's death or something else, because we weren't totally focusing just on death being the one issue. And I don't know. There's a lot about suffering in the texts, the various texts, and there's a lot of different interpretations, and I don't know that we can really interpret it in that way, but I'm not sure that was exactly what Chris and how Chris was actually interpreting it, as if to say this is the way that they think, because I'm always very wary of actually putting that intent and that interpretation on everybody just because they come from a certain theological perspective.
Yeah, and I guess I was addressing less the individuals that partake in a religion than I was the idea of religion. Right? In the same way that I can be atheistic towards things, but not hold myself to be an atheist, or an adherent to atheism trademark, right?
EM with the CC.
So, and admittedly, that was, like a swipe at religion, but
I can accept a swipe at religion. I just didn't know whether there was
you can do whatever the fuck you want right now. You
Yeah.
know? You're suffering, you're going through whatever you need to do. And with the
Fortunately-
exception of maybe Flow State and Mr. Weasel, whom I can't speak for, we're all friends here. You can don't throw tomatoes at me and kill my dog, and you're pretty much good.
And that kind of comes back to something that I heard talked about earlier, which is the support. And I think that you were talking about support specifically in reference to addiction and recovery. But let's face the fact that, support is needed in all facets of things. We are social animals. The amount of connection that we have with other people is actually integral. Our brains change other people's brains, and other people's brains change our brains for the better. And with that said, support. I see Nick Suter is in the side chat. I talked to Nick, I think, at least 3 times between yesterday and today. He's a part of my support network. What's that? Saying Nick is a curse?
You said that. I said you poor thing. All right.
Oh, you poor
said
thing.
That.
That was me projecting. But yeah, and I also I never consider myself an activist of anything, right? That's why I'm I'm atheish. I always kind of played the middle ground. I'm a cult leader. I guess I don't really play around with that, but that's different. The thing that I think that I am an activist for is utilizing the internet, to be a cult leader, to your advantage, right? Your ability to get connection, right? We all had not we all. Those of us in America just went past a family holiday, right? For some of us, it is energizing. For some of us, it is draining. Okay? The kind of support that we can get from each other, knowing that we can get drained from our real life situations, even though we need those connections, being able to come on here, being able to have these hangs, being able to have a Discord server where I'm a cult leader, right? These kinds of connections, even though they're not real, never trust anyone you can't smell. But until then, certainly build the bridges so that you can have the opportunities to meet them, to smell them, right? But that, to me, that's what this is. Utilizing, to me, the internet is the fucking octagon. Social media is just people knocking on each other's doors to tell them that they don't want to take the guitar lessons that were posted in the public square, which is the stupidest fucking process of all goddamn time. Let's all admit that. And you can go there and, sharpen your swords and get your skills together about debating and arguing and being snarky and shit. But some of us are adults, and we see the playground for what it is, and we walk past the playground on our way to the fucking dinner table. And, I'm not trying to self-promote, even though I call my cult the dinner table. I think that hangs like this. This is a dinner table, right? So that's really what I was getting at. The amount of connection that we can have here. I appreciate that you guys are giving me the floor, but and I do want to make this more interactive. But that's this graciousness. It means something to me. It helps. What I'm going through. And I'm telling you in real time how I'm trying to make meaning out of it. And you're giving me the floor. This is as therapeutic as anything else. And that said, I would like to offer this to anybody else on the panel who has
Right. Well, if I
something
can
to contribute.
steal the thunder, and me being my channel and all the rest.
It is your channel.
It's 27 days, 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 25 seconds till I land in America, and Christopher will be there for me to smell his hair. So oh no, not that, no, maybe the right one. No, motherfucker better buy me a coffee and a bun. All right, I want a croissant or something like and no grabbing my ass. That's the only thing. I don't want to get excited. Going over to see Minnow, I can't be tempted,
Words.
But, all right, maybe a little. These are the connections that we make. This is a real thing that's happening, and to bring it back, if anyone is in and around the St. Louis area, can make it for New Year's Eve and the eve before New Year's Eve, we've got 2 slots left in the accommodation. Tickets, 2-day party, pizza. It's an ability for us to actually smell each other. Yeah, I'm just going to go with that analogy. I'm just loving that. I'm bringing my Lynx Africa, which you know as Axe Africa. I'm going to bring that with me, so that forever you will think of me as an 18-year-old American teenager.
You won't get it on the aeroplane, MathPig.
My carry-on. No. Oh.
If you smell like fucking Axe products when I meet you, I'm gonna punch you in the dick.
He's gonna smell like weed. He's gonna smell like weed.
Well, he's gonna smell like it when he gets back on the plane. I can tell you that.
You know what, Chris? I can accept connections, particularly on the internet. The concepts of cults and groups, I don't do them.
I do, unapologetically.
No, hold on now. Now, if I can, right? You and Heretic both agree. You don't do cults. The whole idea of the cult is to get out of the cult, because it's not a cult; it's a way of life. I say we because I feel like I'm part of the cult, even though I was the first person to leave it. Go spooky bed hair.
You are not. Bullshit. Spooky bed hair smells like raisins.
I mean, you started the greatest cult of all on the internet, Chris. The original Great Debate Community.
I love that you just said that I started the Great Debate Community.
Part of the
I want that to be clipped and sent to everybody.
No, just one person.
Well, yeah. Is that? And then you were asked to get rid of your community and your cult and subsume it into a different one.
Well, I didn't lead that.
You were given it though. You were given it though, weren't you?
Oh no,
I thought
don't
you
know
were.
what you're referring to.
I thought you were handed it. I thought it was handed over to you to run.
Are you? I'm confused about what you're talking about.
Tomorrow. I'm totally releasing this as a short tomorrow.
I'm very.
I may have the wrong person. I may have the wrong person, Chris. I thought you.
I'm not insulted. I'm just confused.
I thought you ran a Google. What did it used to be called?
The atheist thing that.
Yes, atheist cults. You had your own atheist
brand.
Yes.
I used to have a show called Meeting of the Minds, and I was part of what was known as the Great Debate Community, very loosely.
So when I hear that, what I hear is I imagine people excising a chunk of their skull and pressing it up against other people and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not. Yeah. Okay, we'll move on. Go on. Sorry.
That was confusing. I'm confused all around right now.
That's all right. I've probably got the wrong person.
Well,
You're welcome.
Yes, I like being confused. I don't mind being confused. If you're talking about, am I allowed to name him? MathPig?
No, don't name him.
You can do literally whatever the fuck you want right now, Chris.
If you're talking about
Except get your
Steve
dick out. You're
McRae,
not allowed to get your dick out. You can send me that. in
I
DMs,
wasn't
but
talking
you're not
about.
allowed to get
I
your dick out.
literally wasn't talking about anybody. I'm like fairly
Oh, no.
inebriated at this point.
oh, no, I got it.
So,
And I want you to contribute because I think that you're going for something funny. Because imagining taking a chunk out of your head and mushing it with somebody else is fantastic. I just don't have a context to like go with you on that.
Like honestly, though,
Weasel, hold on. It was me that started this, Chris.
Yes.
And
So, in
I
Hobo
was not-
Whisperer, is that
Yes.
what you go by?
No, heretic.
Heretic. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or as Simon says, hairy dick. So you'll know me by whichever one. Although how he knows that or not, I have no idea. But
yeah. So, if you're talking about like the great debate community,
prior to the hobo who shall not be named,
okay.
Usurping.
I would almost rather use his name. That's just, it's less insulting.
No, I'm quite happy to insult him. But prior to him setting up that community, there was already a community, and I thought you were involved in actually. I don't know whether you set it up or whether you were given it or whether I've just got.
I think the phrase that you're looking for that everybody can agree on is just old guard.
No, because I'm particularly talking about a Google. What the hell was it called? There was.
Well, okay, hold on. I'm going to help Harry Dick here. You're talking about Google Hangouts.
Headless Chicken is going to fucking lay down the law.
Now,
everybody listen.
The great debate community as a term was originally coined by Agent of Doubt.
That's true. Yes.
Okay. Not the hobo who shall not be named.
No.
AKA
No.
Discount Gandalf. Okay.
Yeah, Headless. I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about that. We used to have communities on Google Hangouts.
Yes,
do you mean the New Covenant group? Do you remember that?
No.
The New Covenant group?
No, I don't know.
All right.
Know.
There never was a Google Plus Hangout group community officially known as the Great Debate Community until the lobster rolled sous vide chef, who shall
now that's not
never
true.
created it.
No, that's
there
not
was.
true.
It's all
there
becoming
was.
fucking drama now. Okay,
The
just
term
get it
was
out of your
used.
system. Say the fucking names. Get it done and dusted because it's just dragged out drama.
Yeah, because MathPig doesn't know who we're talking about.
No, I know
So anyways,
exactly who we're
the
talking
term
about. Just
was
fucking say it.
used,
Some cunt
but
tried to
as
steal
far as a
something that
name
other people
applied to a group directly, was not used.
No,
so
there
hold on a
was a
second.
group.
Hold
There
on
was
one
a
moment.
separate group.
So there used to be Google Plus communities, and my wife used to have, what was it called?
The cult.
Philosophy of Religion. So the Google Plus community that was called Philosophy of Religion was run by my wife. Shanna Mauda used to be Shanna Rocky. And that was handed to her to run. And it was huge. And it was like Google would recommend it. Like it was phenomenally successful. It was huge after she got it. She wants everyone to know. Say that again. It only had 9,000 people when she started it. And then it blew up to what, dear? I think it was between 250 and 500. It was like 300,000. Yeah, like 300,000. So she was in charge of that.
Yeah, well, the way it was described to me by Dragnaut, and I don't want to put my foot in the ring, but
oh boy,
yeah, there was a community that kind of called itself the Great Debate Community, and then Steve came along and made his Great Debate Community. And a lot of people were pissed, and I think that there's still a grudge going on there. I know, like, Dragnaut and Steve still fight about this shit all the time.
It's 37. I'm cutting the point at 45 for the drama bullshit. Go.
Yeah. Truth be told, Steve had a lot of support. Like there were a lot of people. Not that I want this to be the topic of conversation, but
no, you've got.
I, for one, was somebody who supported Steve's attempt to kind of bottleneck the community into like something more formal, because hey, somebody was going to take the reign, and he seemed to have time to do it. And at that time, we didn't really know as much about him, and people were into it, myself included. And I think that the way that it went, the way that he went about doing that thing that we were supportive of at first, that's where all of the drama comes from. I left very soon thereafter.
Yeah, I was never there for it, but I've heard all the stories.
I did interview Steve. So for those of you who are listening to this that know anything about it and didn't know, I had a conversation with Steve McRae called Let's Chat, where I attempted to bring to his attention some of the concerns that people were having in the community. And it was the way that I described that conversation is me playing softball while he played dodgeball. Like, I just couldn't have landed. I couldn't have asked him the most basic, easy to answer questions. And to me, that was softball. And he was like playing dodgeball. He just wasn't answering any of them. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, I'm giving you the perfect opportunity to explain yourself. And you're just like, no, I'm good. So that was if you want to watch that, it's called Let's Chat.
I've seen that. I saw it years ago when it was made. Yeah, very good. Very good.
Just want, yeah.
Thank
Brady deserves an awful lot of respect. He really does.
Don't go crazy. Don't go crazy.
I don't know.
I
Michael's
appreciate
only
you being
fucking-
here for me while I'm having an upset, but let's not get fucking crazy.
Oh no, come on! Like, we're crawling up on side of everybody's asses tonight. Weasel was all up in Leo's ass tonight. I'm gonna crawl up in your ass tonight. You've been crawling up in fucking Nick's ass tonight. You know, the only person who's clean in here is Knock, and that's a strange thing. Like,
Yeah, hey, it's the new me, man. It's the new me.
Well, I mean,
speaking of new people and wanting to give out hugs, Jill's in the chat, giving Jill a hug. You know, let's everybody give Jill a hug.
Is Jill in the chat?
Yeah.
Bring him on in here. Let's shower him with love. He
Oh my
deserves
God,
it.
dude,
We
your
are
voice is
technically
so
full,
beautiful
and
and
Sammy
buttery.
has been down to get in, so we need 2 people to fall on the sword. Leo's been very quiet, and Flow State's been very quiet, so I'm...
Well, Leo and I, like, we jacked each other off to climax pretty early on, I think.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's what
I
happened.
heard a
Your
part of that. That
camera
was
got that
great.
smudgy, you had to put a fucking sign on so people who...
Hey Weasel, if I throw you like $20 the next time we're in a hangout, can you give me the treatment that you gave Leo? That was astounding.
I mean, absolutely.
Okay. So now we all know that he's a whore.
I can do it now. Just
Now
be
I want
wrong
to
about
negotiate
something.
terms. Now that we know that you're a fucking whore, I only want to give you $5.
I was gonna
I'll
break
do
out
it
the
for
butter.
free. I mean, my currency is attention. Okay.
Cap.
That was a horrible joke.
Dab.
Is Jill coming in for a hug? And both Leo and Flow State did not actually fight back against getting kicked. So
No, I didn't.
no, Leo's
No,
over.
hold on.
Leo, you're
No,
not
I
far
didn't.
from the mic. Did you get drunk and fall over?
No, I had my mic flipped up.
Did you see my comment in the private chat?
Who are you directing that to? And if it's to me, then no.
Okay, yeah. No, I was gonna say because I think except for Z and possibly Flow State, I think the entire panel has recycled. And I was gonna ask about my previous debate question that I had been thinking about if young Earth creationism is more unreasonable than flat earther. And there's a juicy bit. Let's work with that.
If Jill's coming,
wants to
you've
go.
got like 2 minutes. If Jill's coming, you got like 2 minutes because it's going to become a liberal conspiracy that we're going to have to deal with.
Come on, Jill. I have to say, now, if I can just say, not to be a dick or antagonizing or anything like that, to encourage an actual conversation. I think about 3 weeks ago, there was Michael, there was Marty, there was Jill, there was an actual conversation, and Jill did agree to come back the week after and have an actual conversation on presuppositionalism, if I pronounced that correctly. They didn't turn up. Michael was busy doing papers. Marty was here. And I think that was the main conversation. But Jill, there is an open slot now. You can come in. Provided you just don't say anything stupid, I promise not to put the clown image up.
I've had some pretty regular conversations with Jill. You can get down to some interesting conversations with him.
You can have a conversation with anyone, though, Heretic.
I can.
I've had several hour-long conversations with Joe. It's easier one-on-one than in groups of people. He gets triggered sometimes with groups.
Yeah,
you don't know who Jill
This is.
Oh,
Nick.
well, you're the lucky one. Trust me.
Nick, I haven't had an opportunity to ask you the question that I've asked everybody that has joined the panel on stream. I didn't ask it to Chris. Pardon, Chris?
I said, ladies and gentlemen, the velvet voice of Nicholas Lamar Suter.
Nick,
oh, Jesus. After an intro like that, Jesus. Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you
yes,
fucking
Michael.
ruined it.
This is what I'm saying.
Anything, it was better beforehand. Have you experienced anything that you would consider suffering at the time that you think has taught you something, made you a better person, or you feel stronger because of it? You don't have to necessarily share, but I'd like to know the before and after.
Yeah, probably
That's
just
part
about
one.
it. All the suffering I've ever had in life just about qualifies for that, I think.
Okay, waking up in the morning and seeing yourself in the mirror, we can't count that. Can you be more specific?
Oh, for fuck's sake. Yes, I can be more specific. I don't plan on it, though.
We were using examples earlier like bullying and falling in love with your first love. Vague. Be vague.
Examples of suffering. Any number. I don't think most of human life, it strikes me, is filled with a great deal of suffering. I lost my father a couple years ago. Absolutely, the first person you ever fell in love with and lose. I think all of us can empathize with that. There's any time that you really thought you held something in your hands, some form of success or something that you wanted and lost it, and all of us have felt that. I don't think I couldn't come up with an example that would be better than that which everyone is thinking of in their own heads right now, and everyone's got at least a few.
And then part two of the question that I did ask people was, do you think, and I hate to use the phrasing, but I'm trying to make it shorthand, necessary evil and building character? As being, I think Heretic used the example earlier, making a mistake and people telling you fucked up. And I think Gur used the example of falling in love for the first time and realizing you did things wrong. Would you consider, would you know of anything that you would add to that list of necessary evils? Hugs Jill. Back to Nick.
I think it builds character for two reasons. I think, yes, I would agree. In large part because it's humbling and reminds you not to think so highly of yourself. I think also because it gives you something in common with other people. And I think the more you've experienced suffering, usually, the less you would like to see it inflicted on others.
Gives you empathy. Yes, I can't remember who said that earlier, but
that was me. And I see it as slightly different from Nick because.
Well, wait. Was that Heretic? Because if that was Heretic, I can change my answer.
Okay. No. I agree with your answer, Nick. I agree.
That's why I'm changing it.
Okay.
Okay. Never mind.
No, I agree with your answer, but I see it from slightly differently because you don't necessarily have to see connections with other people to have empathy. You can actually see the differences as long as you understand where they're coming from. It might be they're brought up in a totally different culture. It might be whatever it is, but that empathy allows you to see things from their world because you have had those discussions with them and you understand them, which allows you to accept what they are thinking, saying, doing, without necessarily enjoying what they're thinking, saying, or doing.
I agree, but in terms of, as I understood the question, I still think it's character building for one of those reasons, or for the reasons laid out. I think you can absolutely have empathy any number of ways, but one of the ways in which your character is often improved is through experiencing suffering and through internalizing it and processing it.
Yeah, and like a stereotype in the United States as it applies to politics is, Republicans are Republicans until somebody in their family gets sick, and then they become Democrats. Or you're like, it's like
Marty,
that
just move it away
stereotype.
from your mouth just a wee bit.
No, don't. Please don't. I love it.
If
I'm
I
having a great
can,
time.
Jill, not all the way. We still want to hear you, Michael. Or not Michael, sorry. We want to still hear you, Marty. Jill, if I can ask you the same questions. Part one.
Hey.
Thank you very much for joining, if I can say that. Part one of the question that I've asked everyone that has joined. Have you experienced suffering in your life that has caused you to gain strength or learn something which you feel better now for it with hindsight? And second of all, what would you add to a list of necessary evils that you would consider good going forth with character building? And yes, I know I'm doing all these hand motions, but paraphrasing.
Okay. That's a lot to throw on my
Two
plate.
questions. It's not a lot. I know you're a young Earth creationist, but it's only two things.
Just ate a whole turkey, and you're throwing more on my plate. But then, thanks for having me on. Happy
I
Thanksgiving.
just ate a whole dick.
I gotta say
I'm not
that,
muted.
that was the shortest time I've ever been backstage. That was a record.
Oh,
About
it's
2
because I have
seconds.
yeah, we're not even going to talk about my production skills, but I have an AI that automatically adds people. Sometimes
no
it
trigger
decides
warnings.
not to, sometimes it decides to.
I just came right in. No trigger warnings. That's quite remarkable.
Is that part of your
Yeah.
pain, Jill? Having been kept behind stage and learning something from it?
The slot was given to you because it was you that came in. You automatically got at it.
Oh, you're asking me what did you ask me about evil? Is evil
The point
necessary?
of the question, the point of the conversation tonight is I felt that a lot of people in America, which is a lot of my audience, has been having the Thanksgiving conversation. What are we thankful for? We're thankful for our family. We're thankful for this. Oh, look, I've got £1 million in the bank. It's fucking brilliant. I'm thankful for that. That's easy and bullshit. Are you thankful for the stuff that you've went through that's caused you pain, that in hindsight, when you look back upon it, you're like, that was awful at the time, but I'm glad I went through it because of where I am now. You know, if I hadn't have been lonely and depressed and found YouTube 3 or 4 years ago, I'd never had the opportunity to smell Marty's hair in 29 days. You know, these are things we must be appreciative of. Not
Yeah, like
hair.
like that L you took in our debate.
Yeah.
Nah,
yeah.
hey, don't be antagonizing. I'm asking him a serious question.
That was an L. Yeah, that sure was an L. Because the Lord was glorified in that debate, so he won.
Okay, let's not focus. I shouted him down. I'm going to shout you down. You won. He lost. We're all in agreement. Can you give me, not necessarily an example, but something along the lines of what I just spoke upon, Jeff?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the scriptures teach that we are to rejoice in these things because they're designed to strengthen us. So we call them trials or tribulations.
Okay, so can you give me an example of what you would consider a trial or tribulation that would be unnecessary? Previous examples have been bullying, falling in love for the first time, you know, making mistakes.
Atheism itself is a necessary evil. It strengthens the Christian.
So you believe that? Hold on. I don't think you're getting my question correctly. I'm asking you something that everybody should go through. So you think everybody should go through atheism to realize how stupid it is and go back to Christianity? Is that what you're saying?
No. Everyone.
Okay, so you're not getting the question. Let me say it a wee bit.
MathPig, I think he's saying that every Christian should talk to atheists because it would make them better Christians. I think that's what he's saying.
Is that what you think?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it would increase their confidence.
So everybody is born a Christian then? You're just assuming everybody's a Christian as a standard. I'm asking you, as a person, secular, Christian, Muslim, things that you should go through. The examples that have been used is falling in love for the first time so you can be a better person in a relationship. Another example was making a mistake and people telling you fucked up there, think harder next time. These are things that apply across either religion or non-secular, or secular, fuck's sake. Give me an example of what you would consider a necessary evil in that example that you think everybody should go through as character building.
I don't have anything in specifically. It depends on.
Really simple, man. You could say walk into a coffee table at least once so you learn not to kick a coffee table on your way past. It's really simple.
Well, for a man, I would say, blessed is the man that endureth temptation. Because when you're tried or you're tested, you'll receive a crown of life that the Lord has promised to us. So,
I'm asking you a question, Jill. Don't quote scripture. I'm asking you to think and give me a genuine answer.
You mean an example, experience, a life experience?
I give you
if I can revise the question, has something happened to you? Has something happened to you, Jill, in your life, which was really tough for you to take? It's like you didn't like it, you didn't enjoy it. It caused you pain, and it's like, and then a while later you realized actually you learned something from that, and it's made you a better person because you learnt the example that was given to you. Have you got an example?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can give several. Let me give you the example of how I met my wife for once. So things that may seem evil to us, God could be using it for good, or bad situations that you might consider to be bad. I don't know how you would determine bad versus good.
Rambling, get to the point.
My first job out of college was below minimum wage, and I thought that was a bad situation. But God knew that if He left it on me to find a wife, that I would either find a liberal,
oh yeah,
or
get the digs in. Go on, we'll let you go. Go on ahead.
So your wife was evil at first. Is that what you're saying?
He orchestrates your life in a way that in the end will be the best case scenario.
Okay. Right. Don't make me mute everybody. Just be quiet.
All right. So
let me. No. I'm going to mute everyone just to mute you because it's easier if you let me finish. You were asked a thing that you went through that was suffering. That in hindsight, you look back on and was good. And your answer was, "My wife's a liberal. Now she's not. Great."
No. Had God left it up to me to find a wife, He knows I would have messed up.
Why has God come into this man? I'm asking you of something in.
Yeah, I'm getting to it. So He put me in the situation which I thought was negative, but that was actually where I should have been. And if I wasn't in that place at that point in time, I would have never met my wife. So sometimes a negative situation, it could be exactly where God wants you to be. What you think is a negative situation. On hindsight, had I got the $60,000 job coming out of college, like most college students, not most, but I would have never have met the love of my life.
Unless you met somebody else.
Okay. So rambling, no real answer. And is anybody anything that would like to say retort to that, or?
No, only that I think you haven't actually asked the question to Headless Chicken, unless Headless Chicken was somebody else that was in earlier on under a different name.
No, Headless Chicken is Headless Chicken, but they were the odd person that's. And the way I have the hack running, it only has 9 people on screen at the minute, and I'm liking the setup right now. So, Jill, thanks for not answering the question, not giving any sort of example.
You didn't like that testimony?
No, that's exactly what that was. No. I appreciate you telling me a story of how you were in a place you didn't want to be, and you met
Right.
your wife. So now you're happy because you have a wife. What I asked you was, have you went through something that was not, what you described, actual pain, something that you felt was bad, like cut a fucking leg off. Then you learned that you could climb a mountain. You're not comparing apples with apples. You're comparing apples with oranges. It's a direct question. You're trying to troll, getting bored. Even Marty's bored. He's playing the bass. It's.
I'm sorry. I thought.
No, just
I
be
did answer.
direct, Jill. Don't
He wants a direct
prophesize.
response. He wants the suffering to be directly beneficial, not circumstantially beneficial.
Thank you, Flow State, for. Yeah, he
I got
articulated
you.
my words better.
So you believe that was a circumstance, that wasn't God's divine
Well,
providence?
No, it's nothing to do with God. It's your personal experience and how you grew as a person. How you grew as a person.
I grew. I learned how to trust God.
Bullshit. That's not the fucking answer.
What?
It's not directly answering the question. Sorry, I'm getting frustrated because you're trying to troll, and I'm just going to end up kicking you because your conversation.
Well,
hold on. Does everybody here know Jill except for me?
No, I give Jill the floor to try and have a conversation and see if we can get a serious answer. He did well before. He's not doing now.
Yeah, I understand that.
Fucking other dick. If you're not entertaining, you can't stay on topic. You're gone.
Well, hold on.
I think so. It again comes down to empathy, because Jill's whole life is focused on anything and everything to do with God. So I can understand why he's putting the answer to any question within the concept of God.
So is Richard.
What I'd like Jill to do is remove the concept of God and look at your life, something that's happened in your life. Maybe you climbed a tree and fell out of it when you were a kid, and you learned something from it, but it was painful at the time. You didn't realize. You blamed a load of other shit, and then after a while you realized it was your own fault because you didn't do X, Y, or Z. And that, okay, it's like, we're looking at simple things here, Jill. We're not looking at a massive theological concept, if that makes sense.
Sin is a theological concept.
No, we're not necessarily talking about sin. We're talking about personal pain, where you learned something and it made you a better person because of it. Because you learned something. You didn't like it at first. You felt it was bad. It shouldn't have happened to you. But then, thinking about it, you actually realized you learned something and it made you a better person.
Perhaps go at it from the other direction.
Okay.
Is there, Jill, a trial or tribulation that Jesus suffered that you think we all should suffer and would grow from? That human beings, if they could experience some form of religious suffering, would grow? What do you think is a necessary part? What kind of suffering do you think is necessary for our growth as a species or as individuals? Maybe that's a approach. Or
what
not.
do you mean kind of? What do you mean? What kind of suffering?
Is there any suffering that you think is a necessary condition for growth as a human being? And it can be, make it religious if that's the context. If it's something that Jesus suffered, what makes us better? What kind of suffering makes us better? I think is the
only the suffering that was granted to you for Christ's sake will last, will count.
Well, can you just? I mean, is it all of it granted to you by God?
Right. Well, that's the only suffering that, for this sake of Christ, that you should not only believe, but for his sake suffer. So that's something that's given to us by God. It's a gift of God.
I don't know.
So all who desire to live a godly life in Christ will be persecuted, will be shunned.
Like lepers.
Yeah, that gives the Christian confidence to know that he is the elect of God when he is shunned, when he's persecuted.
3-minute poll. 3-minute poll, people. 3-minute poll.
Blocked in the chat.
You're not blocked in the chat. You were here earlier. It's how I knew you were here and we called you to join.
You took away Titan's power. That's why he hasn't put me in timeout yet. You took away his authority.
Titan has no authority or power. Titan gets a blue, like his letters are blue on some channels. That's okay.
Okay.
I give
God
Assembly
gives
of God fucking a ranch earlier. They shouted,
I have a
Allah
question.
Akbar, you know, they then lost it. You know, your lettering goes blue for a wee while. If you want that different, you can give me money. You go green if you give me money. Tapioca Weasel figured that out earlier. They're now green. Thank you.
Hey, we got name draws going. Sweet.
What you really got to do? So what you really got to do, MathPig, is you have to establish a specific number for what it takes to get a blue wrench in terms of money. Because if it costs $500 a month and 20 people are doing it, like, I mean, you're set, right? That's how you grift. That's how grift is done.
Tapioca, Mr. Weasel, a friend of mine, Critical Cupcake, said to me, when you're setting up Patreon for shits and giggles, you should just set up a £350 one per month. People have too much money, so there is one. If people want a Patreon for £350 a month, you can sign up for that shit. Nobody has, but you can.
Well, I mean, I think there are a lot of people out there who have Patreon who suddenly have a bunch of people tiering at really high levels that, like, they did not necessarily expect at the beginning.
So the poll seems to be saying, Jill, you can fuck off because you're boring and not adding to the conversation. So would you like to leave or would you prefer if it kicked?
Hold on. I wanted to ask Jill a question. Does Jill know everybody else here?
I can't speak for them. Did
I
they
know
leave?
Rage.
I can't also see them.
I don't know who Jill is.
Okay,
He knows me.
I know him.
So Jill, do you think that young Earth creationism and flat eartherism are on the same level?
No.
I think aren't you both?
I don't believe the Bible teaches the age of the earth.
Oh, you're not young Earth, but you are. You believe is the Earth flat?
That wasn't my question. My question was, do you think that they're at the same level?
No.
Can't
I
remember if
agree
I've
with
ever
you.
asked
I
Joe.
completely agree with you. I
think
don't
there's
understand.
more evidence for young Earth creationism.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure I would word it that way, but I'm not sure I disagree with you either.
So you're not a flat earther. I don't think I've ever asked you.
No, I don't know the shape of the earth.
You don't know the shape of the earth?
No.
That's a weirdly vague answer.
Okay, do you believe that the Earth is roughly a round, like, object?
I don't. I plan on going on a spaceship shuttle trip myself one day, and then I'll be able to tell you.
Fair enough, on a certain level, but on so many other levels, not so much. I don't know what else to say.
They're really expensive trips. Like only the real ultra rich can afford them at this point. But
At this
like
point, but
everything else,
that's not the only thing. The thing is, if stars look a certain way in like 3 different spots on the planet, and light travels according to Snell's law, then the Earth has to be round.
Oh, I see. It has to be. Okay.
I mean, I've heard you say that twice now, and I don't understand. I don't follow it.
It
What's
means
how's
that light
work?
has to go in mostly a straight direction, except according to the changes in the refractive index or the density of the material it's going through. So if it's going through a really, really, really dense bit of atmosphere, you're going to have some bending of the light rays. But more or less, light travels in a straight line. So, if light travels in a straight line and the stars look the way they look
God set it up that
at
way.
three
God
different
set it
points
up that way.
at 3 different points on Earth, then geometrically speaking, the Earth is round.
Weasel.
So if they're in the same position from 3 different spots on Earth.
Oh, it's
is that
been way
No,
longer
if-
than
if-
fucking
if-
3 minutes. Can I get rid of Jill now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye, Jill.
Well, hold on. No. I mean, Jill is being asked a
Throw out Harry
direct
Dick,
question
too.
by Mr. Weasel.
Well, that's fair, yeah.
And it's like that's really unfair to just kick somebody out when they haven't even had a chance to actually consider the question and answer it.
Well, maybe
It
he
is
has
because it's all about him and that's their goal rather than a group conversation.
I'm not gonna
where-
lie. I'm the one who allegedly asked the question, and I don't know what question I asked.
There you are. It's
Maybe-
about a group conversation, open conversation. Jill tries to make it about God and him. It gets boring. My audience at 74% don't give a fuck how unfair it is. People watching, including me, guy playing a bass, and the other 4 people who are quiet in panel, they all
Wait,
want
I didn't get a chance to vote.
Oh, did you not? Okay, put your one vote in. And nobody cares. So, either you can leave of your own accord because you're
All
boring.
right, I'll step out. Whoopi's backstage. I'll step out.
Thank you very much.
You know, Goldberg wasn't her real
Don't
last name.
forget tomorrow to tell
Right.
everybody how you made a fool of me and I kicked you from the stream.
Okay. All right, MathPig. See ya.
See you next week.
Happy
Hugs.
Thanksgiving. Forgiving.
Hugs.
Right.
Be entertaining. Be a better troll.
Okay. All right.
I have to say, like, that was Jill on his good behavior.
Oh,
We didn't
I
get
know,
a single.
I know.
We didn't
Yeah,
get a single
I
liberal.
I
You know,
didn't see any problems there, Frank.
I didn't hear a single liberal that entire time.
Okay.
So-
Math
Okay,
pick. I just want to
I
address
can't tell who joined because I'm 9 by 9. I'm 3
Wild
by
Heart.
3. Wild Heart. Don't. Just be quiet and listen. You're not on camera. Be quiet and listen. Just like I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Okay,
That's
Math
all
pick.
right.
I want to ask Weasel a question, just to get some clarification. Weasel, when you're saying the Earth is round, you're saying it's like an oblique spheroid, a ball. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah,
Now,
well,
a
yeah.
dinner plate being a circle, is that also round?
Yeah.
Yes, and a dinner plate is a
to
plane
enough
plus
of an
flat.
extent that yeah.
So
you've got
when
a
you
point.
say the Earth is round, is it a ball or is it a plane?
It's a pizza.
it's a ball.
Which is it?
and the
Which is
reason I
it?
say that.
You said the
Listen.
Earth is round. Is it a flat plane or is it a ball? It is round. Which is it?
It's a ball. It's a ball. You want me to justify it according to the rules that we just set out?
I really
Because
want
you're right. You make a fair
fucking Marty to
point.
unmute
You make a fair
You
point.
can't
but
say
I have a
the Earth
response.
is round because it's a matter of perspective.
I gave you the credit of making a fair point. Would you like me to respond or not?
No, I'm just pointing out. You don't say round.
That is a fair point, but people know what we mean.
Yes, but the problem is
People
you're talking
know-
to people who don't
This
know.
is literally the first time that I am consciously aware of at this moment, and I've been following. You know, maybe it's something that I've heard on like some bullshit streams before, where they're like, "Well, we think it's round too," but
Yeah.
no, that's
Remember, the Flat Earth Society has members that all around
all
the
over
Earth.
the globe.
All over the globe, yeah.
Last Christmas, I got my wee girl a globe that has an app on her phone that it spins. You can go round. You can actually pick and zoom in with augmented reality, and you can pick and choose between culture, animals, or geography for certain points and certain symbols on the globe. And she gets to know not only is it a globe, but geography, animals, and culture.
Huh?
40 quid. Best 40 quid I ever spent. She played with it for like 6 months, and every now and again she picks it back up again, she spins it, she plays with it. But yeah, she's fine.
So it's
We're
the
going
culture
to
of
be ending
technology.
soon. Just to throw that out there. What's the next top of the point?
Is that the culture of technology, MathPig?
I don't know what you mean by culture of technology. I created a wish list, and if anyone knows, and I'm gonna forget her name now, she's the redhead ex-stripper that wrote 3 books. Knock, help me out.
Oh shit, what's her name?
See, you know who I'm talking about.
John Peterson could tell you because he was obsessed. Oh shit, I can't remember her name.
She released a video actually earlier today, and
I've had her on my. I feel like such a douche. I've had her on my channel. Aaron, yeah.
Aaron, yes.
Like I've had her on my channel 3 times. I should be able to remember her name.
Yeah. Aaron bought this for my wee girl off last year's Christmas wish list that I created, Amazon wish list. So shout out to Aaron. Thank you very much for that. But yeah.
I've got a feeling. I got a feeling, MathPig. Your question, the original question for this whole hangout.
Are you talking the thumbnail or the title? Are you talking the thumbnail or the title?
I don't know what the thumbnail is. I've got a title here. Can we be thankful for the pain in our lives?
And the thumbnail was, what do we owe to each other? But yes, go on ahead.
I think Wildheart might be able to bring a perspective to it.
No,
No,
because they haven't got the hindsight yet. They're still smack dab in the middle, and they're encouraging it. So they haven't got the hindsight. You can't come out of suffering feeling better, looking back at it, realizing what it did to improve your life until you come out of it.
I was hoping that he might have said that, but yeah, all right.
But then we're at a loss. So, other than that, I'm going to work our way around the room. And first and foremost in the YouTube is Mowdy. Mowdy, would you like to promote yourself, talk about yourself? First and foremost, thank you for sharing what you've went through this last couple of days. I know that you were hemming and hawing about joining a few points in the stream that you didn't. And shout out to Michael for being a safety net and making him feel a wee bit more. You don't know that? I told him, I was like, Michael's here, you're all safe now. He was cool, he came on. Chris.
I don't have anything to promote.
You don't have a cult or any hangouts. Okay.
The cult's secret, I thought. Not? No. Here, I want to play a little funk bass for you.
Hold on. Right, let me dumb the back music. Let me dumb the background music and go. No background music now.
Can you hear that? I'm about to shred.
I've never been so erect.
StreamYards is blanking your volume because you're too loud.
How's that?
Yeah, you can't take it past 85% or it becomes 40. StreamYards.
Are you getting any of this? And that's that. That's what I have to promote. Funk bass.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you for one thing then, Marty. Seeing as you won't fucking promote anything by yourself, I'm gonna ask you a question and I want an answer. Yeah?
Yeah.
Give me a short paragraph of something, a piece of advice that you would give to everybody watching and on the panel to improve their lives. One wee small bumper sticker.
For those of you that are watching and you're suffering, please know that you're not alone. The best thing that you can do, aside from having a support network of people that you can connect with, that you can do for yourself, is to practice mindfulness in some way, shape, or form. You don't have to meditate. You don't have to be a Taoist. You don't have to be a Buddhist. You don't have to claim to label yourself in any way, shape, or form. What you do need to do is recognize that you are not your thoughts. In the same way that your adrenal glands spit out adrenaline, you are not your adrenaline. Your brain spits out thoughts. You are not your thoughts in the same way that you are not your adrenaline. If you can sit back and watch your brain produce thoughts, which is what it's meant to do, you're engaging in mindfulness. In fact, when you find your mind wandering from the task of watching your thoughts, that moment of catching your mind wander is mindfulness. Why does this help? It can disconnect or untether you from going down rumination spirals that could decrease your quality of life. If you're having pain in your life, you kind of have the superpower of engaging in mindfulness to reduce its suffering. You actually have that choice to make right now. You asked me for a short paragraph. It was probably a little longer than you wanted, but
And for a man that has absolutely nothing to say, that was very poignant, very articulate, and amazing. Yeah, you deserve a mic drop sideways. Next on my list is Mr. Weasel.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I couldn't agree with that more. One of the I had a mental breakdown at the end of 2019, and there were a number of things that helped me recover from that and get me to where I am today. I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life today. And therapy was one of those things. Therapy was one of those things. Thank you. Um, Medication was one of those things, and a mindfulness practice was one of those things. Being mindful and being able to recognize when you're lost in thought and when you are a slave to the train and the cycle of thought that seems like it defines us, but it doesn't have to. It's a legitimate, it feels like a superpower. It feels like a superpower when you're able to stop and recognize, whoa, I have been caught up in this moment. But it's not even in the moment. It's in this whole construction that you have about the moment. If you could actually be caught up in the moment, things would be easier.
That's life is just a collection of moments, and when you forget to concentrate on the moment, you lose the point of life.
that was an inspired point. Well done.
Inspired by you.
I was inspired by it.
Okay, next on my list, we've got the Hobo Whisperer.
Thank you, MathPig. Yeah, I've nothing to promote at all. I rarely stream nowadays, and I just occasionally jump into hangouts like this.
Were you accepted, or where people don't hate you?
Oh, there's plenty that do hate me. I would say that there's a few little bits. Take full personal responsibility for everything you say and do. Take risks, but do it rationally and with advanced thought. And accept that life isn't fair.
Yep.
And accept your frailties. And if there's one thing that everybody should do to advance themselves, if they have the chance, and that's a big if, and that is have children. Take responsibility to be a damn good parent with the purpose that your child becomes a fully functioning, thinking human adult that is resilient, and let them go because they have to fly. That's it from me.
That was good
Next
shit.
on the list is Headless Chicken.
So what was the question again, MathPig?
Yourself, a phrase, something to shill, something you want to share with other people.
Oh. I'll pass.
Okay, next is Nick. I hear you've had like a news show.
Yeah. I have a new show in time. Anyone who wants to come check it out. So appreciate that. I wish there was a secret cult, but there isn't one. I'm certainly not a member of said secret cult, and I want to make.
It's okay to be a cog in the machine. You don't need to be the machine.
So, and for words of wisdom, I will steal them. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow said, "If we could read the secret histories of our enemies, we should find in each man's life sorrow and suffering enough to disarm all hostility." Now, I will add a caveat to that. I've met psychopaths and sociopaths. Obviously, may not apply to some people, but we always see the exception instead of seeing the rule, and we assume that everybody we meet who harms us in one way or another is that exception. And I think the world would be a much better place if we tried to make as much effort as we could to prove that everybody we met was the rule to that instead of the exception. I think it would help us all out a great deal. That's it. I stole that one, so
Yeah, you really
you know.
did. I don't know. I like Michael, and Knock's been on the internet for a while, so we're gonna Knock. You're gonna have to follow that up. Go.
All right. Well, I never really answered the question about thankful for pain or whatnot, and to me, that's a question about um, suffering. And my answer would have been kind of similar to where Leo was going. We could do a lot of strengthening of social programs, making social programs that would ease a lot of suffering. But it's funny, Marty brought up Buddhism, because the path of enlightenment, pretty much the entire point of Buddhism is to overcome personal suffering. And it's something that I've really tried to work on is utilizing or recognizing suffering that I never even recognized before, and to make me a stronger person, to learn from those mistakes. The Buddha said to understand everything is to forgive everything. So I really think just being aware and understanding of the situations, like there's a lot of suffering going on in this world, and a lot of those people are never going to see a benefit from it because there is no benefit from it. There's 4 million people starving in Yemen right now. And it seems like the rest of the world, while we try to get them food, we kind of stand back and don't do anything because Saudi Arabia owns oil. It's like there's a lot of suffering in this world that's going to have no benefit. There's going to be nothing to learn from it except that maybe we can do better. And we need to understand, because if you understand, with understanding comes forgiveness, and I think you can start to learn from mistakes. That's all I got. New channel, Rage to Reason.
Yeah, need to add that to the bot, man. I'm still rolling your other one in the bot. Michael, the real Michael.
There's a fake one.
Well, there was one that felt really uncomfortable, really insecure, that they had to put a sign around their neck, and it wasn't even Michael. But,
I was going to say, on Twitter, I think there's a bunch of fake accounts that are blue checked, aren't they, Michael? Just pretending to be saying crazy shit.
That's right. Supporting all the conspiracy theories. Yeah. I was just gonna say, I'm not religious, but I want to say amen to everything that y'all just said. Back in my church going days, that would have gotten a hand raise, and yeah, it's good shit, guys. Thank you for sharing. I just want to build off of what 100%. Try to learn from the pain that you have. Try to make something of your personal experiences. But I was just going to build off what Knock just said, to say that it is okay to suffer. It is okay to feel pain, and it's okay to be hurt by things, because shit sucks sometimes, right? And it's okay not to find a lesson in everything. Sometimes you may not find a lesson in everything. I hope that you do, and I hope that you will, because that's a very positive experience and it's a very constructive experience. But you don't necessarily have to have that mindset while you're in the thick of it. I hope that you do eventually, but that's all I was going to say. Thank you all for sharing your experiences and your wisdom. It was touching. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. It's been ups and downs for a lot of people tonight in stream, and a lot of things discussed and stuff like that there. I just want to say thank you for everybody who's came, everybody who's watched, everybody who's left and not getting the thank you because he's all fucked off early, But for someone who goes through and suffers with depression and shit like that, one of the best things, and I ain't gonna go fuck it out because it's difficult for me. Oh, it won't even let me, stupid fucking thing. There we go. I have had incidences where I have broke down in front of my daughter. I've had to go and sit in the hall due to incidences, whether depression or reactions and things like that. And I worry. I've told her I'm not the bad. I'm sorry for being a bad daddy. And hearing your daughter feeling the hugs, having friends around you and a support group, and realize the people around you are there to help you. They'll only put up with so fucking goddamn much. You can't be a dick all the fucking time. Accept their help. Realize that if you want to be better, make the decision to be better. Be aware of your mistakes. And for anyone out here who has kids, don't hide anything. Be a fucking mess every now and again in front of them. It's okay. Kids need to learn that it's alright, especially men in our society. They need to know that it's okay to fuck up and cry, and maybe I can because they can't show themselves, but it's alright to fucking talk about it. But for the big penis stream that's been on tonight, I think we've been very emotional. And I want to thank everybody who's joined, thank everyone who's here, thank everyone for their journey. Take your fist out of my ass. And yeah, don't fucking believe a goddamn thing that any of us say. We're all crazy bastards on the internet. And with the exception of, I think, only 3 people on stream that have papers to back up what they spout, we're all just talking opinions. Don't forget to think for yourselves, people. And on that, good night.